Hi, hello, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk to some real people about some real things, living real lives, doing real stuff. This is the Working Perspectives Podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied by Party in Your Pants, Party Boy, Magic Man McCormick, Pete McCormick. Our guest today is the dynamic duo of Jason Bowers, accompanied by his father, Mr. Bowers. All right, Party Boy Pete, ready to get this thing started or what?
Let's kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Love it. All right. Well, you can find all our episodes on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can find us on Spotify at The Working Perspectives Podcast. You can join us for all the fun on Instagram and follow us on TikTok and Twitter at Working P Pod. All right. Let's get this thing started. Let's go.
You have dialed has been changed. The new number is
Working Perspectives. Yeah, it's our objective to be effective. My voice in society's working perspectives. We're exploring your workday and how you get paid. Launching new episodes every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform with episodes available on all podcast platforms. Check out our vibe and how we get live. Then do us a solid like, share, and subscribe. Working Perspectives.
All right, Petey. I want to tell you about this one. But before we do, there's something we have to discuss.
Uh-oh, what's going on, Matt?
I think you know, and the dozens and dozens of podcast listeners know that I was pirated. Okay?
Pirated?
Yeah. Some son of a bitch, bastard, asshole, jerk, asshole, son of a bitch, bastard, motherfucker named Tom Lavelle jumped onto our show.
No, I've never even heard of the guy. Never even heard of him.
Yeah, well, if you would have smelled him because he stinks. All right. That stinking son of a bitch jumped on our show illegally. He's not approved. He is not approved by the PAAA. And if you're not approved, you're not coming on this show. All right.
Wait, when he came in here without PAAA approval, he just walked on the show like he could do that?
He thinks he's the Dread Pirate fucking Roberts, and he thinks he can just jump on this show without approval from the PAAA.
Unheard of.
Unheard
a scab
yeah.
of the highest order.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Cheryl from the PAAA, she had a word for him. All right.
Good.
But
good.
It doesn't matter. This guy's a scumbag. He's a scoundrel. And you know what he did?
What
he bought the rights to the goddamn show. All right.
That son of a bitch. Right out from under you?
Right out from under me. Well, apparently there was some behind the scenes deals with him and Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Oh, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Otherwise, I like to call him Benedict Arnold.
Yeah. How about it? Frickin' Judas, if you're asking me, buddy. You know, stabbed you right in the damn
silver
back.
Was worth it.
Yeah. Tell me about it. That son of a bitch bastard sold the show to our arch enemy who wasn't even approved. So now that son of a bitch bastard asshole jerk Tom Lavelle challenged me to a game of Mario Kart for the rights.
He challenged you to a game of Mario Kart?
I know. What is he thinking? Might as well just give me the show now. I mean, I am the greatest Mario Kart player that's ever lived. And everyone
might as well challenge Hulk Hogan to a shirt tearing contest because you got this one in the bag, Matty.
You're goddamn right, buddy. You're goddamn right. So we haven't set the date or the time for the epic showdown of Mario Kart, but it will happen, and he will go down.
He's going down. He's going down to Chinatown.
He's going down to Chinatown,
and not for their delicious food either.
No, he's not. He's not getting some General Tso's or some lo mein. No. All right,
he's on cleanup duty.
Yeah. If anything, he's going down there and he's getting some extra COVID that they got lying around. All right. Son of a bitch. All right. So either way, enough about asshole. I want to tell you about Mr. Bowers. All right.
All right. Let's get into it.
So let's get to it. So I'm going to take you back in time. The year is 1993. Okay. Your boy, old Uncle Matty, is 9 years old. And our family, that includes me, my little brother Shithead, my older sister Psycho, and my older sister Asshole, accompanied by my mom and my dad.
Are those French names?
Yeah, very much. Right. Yeah, French. Like the French say, les incompetents. So either way, we took me and the crew, the whole family. We went down to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. My parents took us there for a little bit of a family vacation, right? We were down there for like 4 to 5 days, and the whole time we're having fun, doing a thing. And my dad set it up that we went to every museum, and we went to every house, the white one, the brown one, the green one, the yellow one, right? We went to Ford's Theater. We actually saw a show at Ford's Theater. We had dinner or lunch at the diner in the big museum. I forget what it's called. And we went to the Pentagon.
The Smithsonian?
That's the one. Old Smith's. Yep. Smithsonian's museum. I think they had a diner in there. We might have some lunch. It was pretty good. I remember there was a banana split somewhere, which is delicious. Either way, but obviously with 2 parents and 4 kids and sharing a hotel room, or I guess we had we had one hotel room. Things got a little squirrely by the end, and everyone's at each other's throats, which is bound to happen when you got 4 kids that drove down to Washington, D.C. from Philadelphia in a Volvo. Yeah. Volvo.
It's not Disneyland. We'll say that.
No, it's not. But it was still a good time, right? The whole time we were down there, though, my dad would wake up early to train, right? And what he was doing, he was training.
Ready for the Kumite?
Pretty close. Him and my uncle were training to swim the English Channel, right?
Jesus.
Yep, him and my Uncle Marty. Shout out my Uncle Marty, who's also my godfather. It was out on you, Uncle Marty. That's a family thing. Pete asked me about it later. Yeah. It was out on you, Uncle Marty. So either way, he's training the whole time. So he would wake up early. He would go work out, then come back to the hotel, like do his thing, get us all ready, and then we go on our adventures for the day, right? So,
right.
And he'd been doing that for a while. But the way he trained, he was, he boxed and he wrestled and he was in the Army and everything like that. So his training, he would always wear like a hoodie or something like that, right? So we're talking the middle of July here. So we come back from Washington, D.C. We make the trip back in the Volvo station wagon, and we make it to Philadelphia. So we're there. The first night we're back, everyone's asleep. My dad then wakes up to work out, right? And the way my mom tells it is that he wakes up to work out, and then all of a sudden the next thing my mom knows is that she hears a loud bang and like something hit the bed. And what happened was my dad was working out. He comes back home and he barely makes it home. They don't know how. Makes it home, has a stroke right at the foot of the bed, falls down, nails the footboard of the bed, which wakes up my mom, right? My mom then calls the hospital and is like, you need to come pick him up, right? And the ambulance came pick him up. When the ambulance came and picked him up, my mom went and woke up my older sister, Psycho, and was like, hey, Psycho, this isn't a dream. This is real. When the boys wake up, you got to take care of them, right? And when the ambulance came, it kind of woke up our neighbors. Shout out Mr. and Mrs. Scrizat. And the neighbors are like, hey, send the boys over here while the shit's going down, and then we'll send them back, right? So... and we end up waking up. When we wake up, my sister Psycho's like, hey guys, go over to the Scrizats. It's a pool day because they had a pool. So,
nothing's wrong. We're just going over and hanging by the pool.
Like,
lucky us.
They didn't really like us that much because they were older, and we're like, what? They're letting us in the pool? We've never even been.
So when it became their responsibility to watch, it was a real welcome to Oz bitch moment for them. They're like, no, not these 4.
Yeah. They're like, welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch. And it was. So we headed over to, and we went swimming, and they like made us like a lunch and things like that. And we're having fun hanging out. Then eventually my mom gets back, and the Scrizats are like, get the fuck out of this house and don't fucking come back. And we're like, all right, see you later. So we head back.
Unfortunately, none of them drowned. They are all healthy. Keep them away from our yard.
Yeah. Tell them they're not allowed back, and that we're not going to forgive them for what they did to the dog. All right. So either way, we go back to the house. Then my mom's there, and she's with the 3 of us, and me, asshole, and the little shit. And she kind of breaks the news to us, right? And she says, look, your dad's sick. He had a stroke, and he's in a coma, right? So she kind of knew at that point. She's like, look, I have to be in the hospital, but I can't leave these kids alone, and Psycho isn't old enough. So what she did was she called all of our friends' parents and was like, can my kid please stay with you? So I think asshole stayed with the Madden family. Little shit stayed with Jay, and Mr. Bowers' family and Jay's little brother, David, who was Alex's best friend at the time. And obviously Mrs. Bowers was there as well. But Alex got to stay there. And then because Alex was at Jay's, I went and stayed at our good friend of the show and owner of Scott and Bell Productions, Ron Scott Lesky's house, right? And then my sister went and stayed in some fucking convent or whatever the fuck. I don't know what they said. Either way. So obviously it's very upsetting because I was 9 at the time. And it's like, you know, it's your dad. And you think at the time.
Especially when you're 9, dads are superheroes at that point in time. Indestructible.
Exactly. You're exactly right. So in my mind, my dad's indestructible. And, you know, he's a superhero and all these things. And I had no idea he could get sick. So he gets sick. He's in the hospital. He's in a coma, right? So I remember I go over at Ron's house and like I stay over there, but I was still like, we would still play like we were kids. So like it affected us, but like, you know, obviously like turn on, you know, fucking.
Yeah, you don't know the severity of the situation. Yeah.
Correct.
And
in the back, yeah. And you're right. And in the back of our mind, it's like, all right, well, whatever. When he comes home, things will be okay. Right. We didn't know how bad it was. So either way, I remember, you know, I was playing with Ron, but then in the course of time, I would go over Jay's house as well because we all lived in the same neighborhood and we were just like playing around doing things. When I went over to Jay's house, right, I remember I walked in there and obviously Jay's parents were well aware of the situation and everything like that. And, you know, I felt like I was normal, you know what I mean? But obviously you don't know how you're feeling, especially at that age. And Jay's dad, I remember, he pulled me aside and he told me, he's like, look, I know what happened to your dad and look, he's tough. He's going to be okay. And no matter what, we'll help you out. Right. And, you know, he didn't have to do that. And for a 9-year-old kid, it was very helpful and I can't thank him enough. And it really brought some solace to me. And I know, you know, maybe he doesn't remember, but I would never forget that. So I'm really happy to hear when we started this show that he was a big fan of the show, obviously, like everyone else is, like the dozens and dozens of listeners.
He has good taste.
He has excellent taste, obviously. But he has excellent taste and he loves the show. And I was so happy to hear that. And I'm so happy that he would agree to come on. And I know he's doing great and he's retired. And we're not only joined by Mr. Bowers, but Jay is here as well. But I already asked this of Jay, and I know you're doing great, Mr. Bowers, and everything's good. I would just like to ask, have you seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? And if yes, what'd you think of that piece of shit movie?
I actually saw about 10 minutes of it the other day. And you're right, it's a piece of shit movie.
Son of a bitch, are you kidding me?
Well, Pete, I mean, you know, it's no Tombstone, Pete. What can I tell you?
A voice of a generation finally gets betrayed, and no one appreciates it but me.
Oh, wow.
That's all right.
Wow.
That's all right.
Yeah, sure. Steven Seagal. If Steven
no one
Seagal
appreciated
played...
the Great Gatsby until F. Scott Fitzgerald was dead either, just so you remember that.
Yeah. Pablo Picasso never sold a fucking painting in his life until he kicked the fucking bucket, right? That fucking Pablo. But no, yeah, you're right, Pete. Maybe after we're dead, people think this movie is okay. But I mean, you know, I doubt that'll happen. But if Steven Seagal would have played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, it probably would have been fucking the best movie of all time, right, Pete?
Oh, we all know that the thespian, the exceptional thespian that is Steven Seagal would have knocked it out of the park.
Yep. So, all right. So enough of me and Pete yammering on. Jay, I know you're doing good. Mr. Bowers, how are you, sir?
Good.
Good. Glad to hear. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So how is retirement going for you?
Pretty good. Loving it.
How long have you been retired?
Almost a year.
Oh,
how nice.
Yeah, I stayed home during the COVID, so I don't know how many lives I saved, but I stayed in the house for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You were the real hero.
Yep.
You know.
He's like, I'm retired. I'm finally going to get out and start doing stuff I like. And the government's like, nope, not today.
Stay in the house.
We're going to hit pause on that retirement party for 1 year.
Just your luck. You got as soon as it came in, lockdown was in.
Yep.
But I know you're very lucky, and I'm lucky to have met the two strapping young men that you call grandsons, Jay's two sons. Did you get to hang out with them a lot, or what?
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
those
great kids.
I'll tell you what, man.
Someone played T-ball this weekend.
Oh,
great.
How did they
Man.
do?
That was fun.
Oh man. So is
Yep.
T-ball, what's the deal with T-ball now? Because I've heard there's T-ball and then there's another type of thing above T-ball. It's not like Little League anymore. It's like something else. It's like
Yeah, well, they don't
like
use
coach
the
pitch or
T,
something?
the coach pitches, yeah.
okay. But isn't there someone was telling me that there's even another thing where there's like T-ball, which is kind of like, it can be kind of like you're staring at butterflies sometimes if you're a little kid, which you're trying to just keep them occupied. But then there's another thing where it's like you're just like different stations doing activities. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
They do,
I don't know.
Below T-ball, they do what's called quick ball.
Okay.
So like as young as like 2 or 3, just to start introducing them to the game.
Oh, nice. All right.
See, this is why I was never good at baseball, because they skipped that stage for me, and it was too advanced. I couldn't start off on the tee. I needed something before that, more rudimentary.
Yeah. I remember, and Jay, I think you'll remember this as well. When we were playing 4th Street Park one time, we were playing wiffle ball, and Pete was like, he was hanging with our crew and everything like that. And we're like, oh yeah, all right, let's play wiffle ball. And Pete was like the first guy picked. And we were like, all right, he'll be the cleanup guy. He's going to freaking smoke this thing. Not only could he not hit the goddamn ball, he couldn't throw the fucking thing either. We're like, what kind
It's all
of
right.
shit is this?
What I lack in power, I make up for with my lack of speed as well.
Yeah. But yeah, you were a demon out there. That's for sure. You were just the golden glove. No, but that was, thinking of old times. That was fun. But Jay, the boys did good at T-ball or what?
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice, man.
It's a good time. It's it's a lot of just screaming about what to,
They mostly
what to
run.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
At
the other
one
way.
point,
The other way.
Jameson was playing first base. We were defense. We were out in the field. He was playing first base, and they were yelling for the kid on first to run to second. So Jam took off and ran to second.
Oh, I love that.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best. Dude, and we were when Jay was on, for the listeners, they'll know that Jam was the one on the first episode. If you saw it on YouTube and everything, we had the picture of the bike that Jay helped like paint and kind of just remodel entirely for Jam, which was badass, man. Badass stuff. Really happy that you could do that for your son. So speaking of that, let's get into this and then we'll get into some other stuff. But I really wanted to start off with everyone's new favorite segment. It's the hot segment hitting the streets that everybody loves. It's called Memory Lane.
Where do these bizarre memories come from?
So in English, if you say this is lame, when you're describing something, what you are saying is that it's not cool, it's not awesome, it's not interesting.
Now that's lame as in not cool, like Bohemian Rhapsody. But yeah, lame, L-A-M-E. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring up some topics. And because we have Mr. Bowers on, not only can we bring up topics from the 90s, but the 80s and 70s as well.
60s.
60s too.
Yeah.
And we can bring up these topics and we can discuss if they're still totally radical tubular or if they're complete lame-os. So as always, Mr. Bowers, the guest is the one who brings up the memory lane. And we were talking about this earlier. What was that game that you were telling us with the box in the
Dead box.
Dead box. Okay. So can you please so this kind of, to me, these are the kind of things, because let's be honest, when you look in like old movies and stuff, you've seen like the kid with the stick and like the wooden hoop kind of thing. I don't know what that was. There's like a pole.
Yeah, that's before my time.
Yeah. But, obviously toys are a lot more sophisticated now. Even when we were kids, they were ultra sophisticated. But back when you were kind of a kid, you guys had to come up with stuff with what you had.
No, we just played outside all day, It's that's what we did.
Best, man.
Yeah, but Dead Box was a game where you draw these little stations out in the street. You had to play in the street.
Uh-huh.
And you'd shoot bottle caps from 1, 2, 3, 4 through the whole sequence of this, like almost like a board you would set up on the street. Yeah. And to get to the last hole, or it's almost like golf with a bottle cap. Yeah. Get to the first one to the last segment wins. So it was pretty fun.
So it was like a combination of like paper football and bocce ball kind of a thing, just bringing worlds together?
So not really, just like shooting bottle caps. You with your finger on the ground.
Okay. You
from
flick
one
it
spot to another.
You flick it with your thumb with the bottle cap. Is that how you're doing it, or you're like whipping it?
You shoot it so it slides across the street.
Board.
Kind of like if
rock.
you would shoot a football flat on the table.
Yeah,
flat on the table.
Oh,
you would shoot it from,
and it had to land in the target, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You had to get it in the box. That's why you had to be dead in the box. That's why called a dead box.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
It was fun. They even remember years ago, hearing about a dead box tournament that City of Philadelphia was actually holding back then. I'm like, all my friends never heard of it, I said, you ever hear of dead box? No, I never heard of it.
So wait,
they're from the suburbs.
Is that a Philly thing? Because I wonder.
Yeah, it was pretty much when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's one of the things we did down in Philly. Yep.
Yeah. So, nice. So my mom, because you were Chestnut Hill. My mom was K&A.
Actually, it was West Oak Lane.
Oh, West Oak Lane. Yeah, you said that.
I was born in Chestnut Hill Hospital, but West Oak Lane.
Matt, I'm finding an article on Hidden City, Philadelphia op-ed, spreading the dead box gospel, one bottle cap at a time.
I told you.
So if anybody Google it, I just Googled Philadelphia children's game dead box, and you got the whole article from September of 2019.
Oh, wow.
Spreading the dead box gospel.
Were you using you're using the bottle caps from like a Coke bottle, right?
Yeah, that had cork inside, not plastic.
Oh, wow. So these things.
Bottle caps used to have cork, a little layer of cork.
Oh, really?
Seal it back in the day.
No kidding. Yeah, now it has like the gel kind of
plastic ring on it. Yeah, but it used to be cork.
All right.
That's fascinating.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Man, that's kind of fun. I love seeing stuff like that, and they have there's different names for because Pete was Frankfurt and Summerdale. We would call it Manhunt, right? You call it Spring, right?
Yeah, it was Spring where we were from, what everyone called Manhunt in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Because we would yell Spring when we would let everybody go.
I remember I used to work at a bar at Vinny T's, which you guys know, obviously. And at the bar, there was this guy that would come in. His name was Ed, and he was like an old timer, and he grew up in the city kind of thing. And he used to tell me they used to play a game where they would fling their baseball cards against like a brick wall, and you the corner of the brick wall and the sidewalk where it met, and you'd want to get your card to stand up, right, where it would be touching both and
a leaner.
Yeah, exactly, a leaner. Yeah. And he would say, if you were able to do it, you collected all the cards that everyone threw, and you would pick, you know what I mean?
He's called pitching cards, yeah.
Oh, so okay, all right.
He did that too, yep.
Yeah, nice. I remember too. I remember when we were kids, because we would go, trick or treating and stuff, and you would always say back in the day it was the big candy bars that everybody got, and not the little fun size ones.
Yeah, and we were in row houses, so you could do 3 blocks and have a whole grocery bag full of full-size candy bars.
Oh my gosh, that is the truth. That was so much fun back in the day. Mm-hmm. Hitting up the row homes is the way to go. If you're not trick or treating on a row home, might as well go the hell home. You know what I mean?
We moved up to the suburbs. We're looking at the houses, and they were spread so far apart. What the hell?
Yeah.
So that was Mr. Bowers. I grew up in the city until 6th, 7th grade, and then I moved to the suburbs. And then after college and everything, me and Matt and Asshole actually lived together in Manayunk.
Yeah.
And I forgot how many kids came out for trick or treating because I show up with my 3 bags of candy. And they were gone within 30 minutes because I'm oh yeah, take 2 or 3 pieces. And then I'm like, oh my God, I got to run out and get more. Because trick or treating in this city is a sight, especially in the neighborhoods. Yeah, Northeast Roxborough, any of those. We have all the kids coming together and they just come in rows.
I love too how when Halloween kind of escalates as you get older. So when we were kids, obviously it's all about the candy. It's all about get your costume on, do your thing, but you're out there, you're hitting the streets, you're trying to get as much candy as you can. When you're older, and especially Pete mentioned Manayunk on Halloween is a time. I'm seeing, let's just say the ladies are dressed very elegantly. You know what I mean? The ladies are challenging each other of who can show the most skin. Right. And and the guys are down there trying to get I remember you're seeing they're Smurfs. And I remember after the Batman Dark Knight came out, there was a bunch of jokes. It's all, yearly. I was dressed as Rosie O'Donnell for 4 years, brought the house down. You know what I'm saying? I was Rosie O'Donnell from A League of Their Own one year. Not gonna lie, probably the best costume anyone's ever seen.
Hey, you showed up at our house one time in a Girl Scout outfit for Halloween. I'll never
And the
forget
weird thing
that.
it was in September. It was not a Halloween, and Matt was just wearing it regularly.
He was selling cookies.
It was mid-May, and I was trying to get the Samoas off the shelf. All right,
And it was actually this past summer, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, I remember that. So It's funny you mentioned that because that Girl Scout uniform made its way through my entire family. So it was obviously my older sister Psycho's. It was her uniform first, obviously, and then Asshole wore it for Halloween, and then I think a year later or 2 years later I wore it for Halloween, and then eventually Little Shit wore it for Halloween as well. And it was well, I mean, obviously I pulled it off the best. So what are you gonna do with this canvas?
Yeah, you were the cutest. Yeah.
Right. Can't say I blame you there. So all right, nice. So well, let's vote on it. So it's Dead Box is the game. So Mr. Bowers, you put it up. What are you voting on, Dead Box, sir? Is it rad or is it lame?
Oh, it's rad.
Totally
It's rad.
Jay Bird, what are you thinking, babe?
I feel like there's so many games that are similar throughout the years. It's definitely rad.
Yeah. Peter Hosen?
The first sentence in this article is, I grew up in Oxford Circle, so this is getting a rad from me.
I'll tell you what, I'd have to date like when were bottle caps invented, because I'd have to think that this game predates golf, So if anything, you're welcome, Tiger Woods,
Well,
for all the good times.
It predates golf in West Oak Lane, that's for sure.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, so it's going to be a rad for me as well. So we got a Mondo rad for when it comes to our first memory lane item. That's awesome. So
cool.
Let's see. I want to get into some stuff. So, all right. So that was memory lane. All right, fans, time for a break in the action to bring back one of our favorite segments. This is The Date You Hate with our good friend, Lord Richard Bach. Lord Richard, what's the date and what do you hate?
The date is June 15th, 1099. So I'm in this army, and we're going to take back the Holy Land from these jerks called the Arabs or the Sultan or whatever his name is. So we get there, and this is the worst place. It's just so freaking hot. I mean, England's hot in the summertime, but this place sucks. I mean, it's 115 degrees. You can't get any water, and you got to ride a freaking camel. That's the date, and that's what I hate.
All right. That was The Date You Hate with our good friend, Lord Richard Bach. Now, back to the show. All right. So let's keep this moving. So we got some killer stuff today, man. Pete, I know you saw the notes. This episode is going to be excellent. So like we mentioned before, Mr. Bowers here was born in Chestnut Hill Hospital. He grew up in West Oak Lane, and then he moved to North Wales at the age of 7, right? He did public school K through 12. He also did like a tech school at the same time. Mm-hmm. He would graduate from North Bend High School and everything like that. And then while in high school, he was in tech school for carpenting, right? Or carpentry, sorry, not carpeting. Yeah. So he's
done that too.
Well, he's done it all. We'll find out that he's done it all. And then he did some wrestling in junior high, so another wrestler on the show.
There we go. All right.
But I would like to bring this up. So, and we brought this up before. We actually brought this up on Jay's episode, where the comedian Robert Kelly. I've spoken about him several times, right? And Robert Kelly has brought up that they're no longer making men anymore; they're making dudes, right? So what would happen is if something were to break at my house, if it can't be fixed with duct tape, then me being a dude has to call a man to come and fix it, right? Mr. Bowers is definitely in the man category. So that being said, I want to get it started with the first job that we went over. And this is fascinating. And Jay, I was actually kind of pissed that you didn't tell me about this. So one of your first jobs, Mr. Bowers, you were pumping gas in high school, and you were pumping gas at a full-service gas station. Now, I want to bring this up because these don't exist anymore, but I think what will happen is with the birth of Tesla and everything like that, this job, being a full service gas attendant, right? This job will probably be replaced by some type of app or robot or things like that, where if you have a Tesla, you're pulling up to the Tesla station and they're going to look at, just scan your car with whatever and say, you need this, this, and this. That was Mr. Bowers in the flesh. And this is at the age of like 17, 18, right, Mr. Bowers?
No, actually 16, 15.
Oh my gosh, even younger.
Wow,
so this to me was really cool. So I will bring up two things. So first, when you were working at the gas station, Mr. Bowers, what kind of things were you doing? So say, let's play like role play a little bit. So I pull up in my car. Let's say I got, you're 16 at the time. So that's like 1971, 72, maybe, right?
73. Yep.
73. So let's say I pull up in my 73 Chevelle, right? You're going to look at this. You see me pulling up. I need a tank. What's the interaction like? So I say, hey, hey, Mr. Bowers, can fill her up, right? Or something like that. And then what goes on then? So
I'll walk over and I'd say, what do you need? They go fill it up. So I'll start filling it up. And as soon as I start filling it, I go, got to start washing the windows, with a rag, and you squirt the windows, wash them down.
Didn't have a squeegee. You didn't have a squeegee then?
No, it was a rag.
No shit. All right, cool.
And then you say, check your oil, and they'd say either yay or nay. And if they say yay, you got to check the oil. You're down a quart of oil. And then you get the idiots. I need air in my tires. You got to pull it around, put air in their tires. The whole bit. You did the full service.
So, and you're able to, like, the gas station would have like an auto garage attached to it, which it still does to this day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't sell gas anymore. It's mainly a repair shop. But
but you would be able to put it up on the stilts and everything like that if you had to, and just
I used to change oil.
Honestly,
balance tires.
Yeah,
I learned all that. Yeah,
I would love, I'll tell you this right now, I would love to be able to go to a gas station, get my tank filled and my oil changed in 10 minutes and be out of there. I would absolutely pay for that. If that was an available service, if Wawa starts having, tire rotation and oil changes available, forget about it. No one's going anywhere else, babe. I'll tell you that. But man, that's awesome. So you're there, and really, like, I feel like jobs back then too, like right now, if you look at a gas station guy, it's some freaking stew just walking around sweeping, wearing his vest, like, but he's not learning anything. He's just there as like a service kind of, maybe.
I think that when I was young and a teenager, there's a lot more opportunities for young people to get jobs doing stuff like that. I was a stock boy. I did all that stuff. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to touch on that. That's a good point because I've been a corporate tax accountant for the past 13 years, and I recently left that profession. But I noticed I came up in compliance. Where you start working on people's tax returns, and that's the way you kind of learned it. And a lot of that work now is being outsourced to like KPMG in India. And I'm just sitting here. I'm like, well, how do kids get into accounting if they don't have the basics? Like, how are they learning? And I guess the same thing, like, how do kids get into automotive work if they don't have that job as the gas attendant to kind of get their feet wet? Like, okay, you can't do this, but we can have you fill up the cars and wash this. And then maybe Danny will be busy and you can change some oil. And that's kind of like the way that people would learn it. You start at the bottom and you come up. But you're right. Like, a lot of those opportunities aren't really there. Everyone wants the guy that has 3 to 5 years experience. Nobody wants the guy fresh out of college or fresh out of high school or the GED.
Yeah. And it's all who you know. Like, you have to know if you don't have like the experience that you're saying, you have to know someone to get you in and teach you. And I mean, honestly though, like that job, you working at that job, you provided a service as much as you were learning. And
absolutely.
You're learning too. One of the biggest things, and I think you passed this on to Jay, and I just remember learning this by watching you and Jay, where it's like at this job, and I think you probably already had this, but you're learning to respect tools as well. Tools are not toys. Tools are tools, and they're to be respected, right?
Yeah, I got chewed up fingers to prove it.
Oh, I bet. And we can't wait to get into those stories. But So at this gas station, man, I'll tell you, you're going in there, you're learning things, you're doing all this stuff, and you're providing a service. Like you're building a rapport with the people that come in. People know, like they go in and, you know, I'll say your first name is Carl. So they'll come in and say, oh man, Carl, thanks for, you know, I had no idea. You saved my ass last week with that oil change and I would have been busted out, you know, like
nobody's that appreciative.
Well, you know, like they might have had that thought, but they know like you do a good job. And that's not just you building like it's you building like it's your character speaking, but it's also like you building your work like you're just what you can do, you know, like you being able to do that. I guarantee you can change every oil in every car you've ever had, and you probably did, you know what I mean? Like it's just something like, all right, well, I'll do it this Sunday, no big deal. And that's the kind of thing like I kind of like wish I would have learned or had the opportunity to learn, but those, you know, those things don't exist. If I wanted to learn that, I'd have to go to a school or something like that.
Being exposed to that, I was able later on to actually swap motors in an old van that I had myself.
Jesus.
Yeah, you had a Chilton's manual and an engine hoist. You could pretty much do anything you wanted, you know?
Jesus Christ. See, that's incredible. And like, you know, you had the tools and everything like that, and you were just able to knock it out just because of like experience and doing all that.
Yeah,
so,
plus my neighbor across the street was a mechanic, so he helped me a lot.
Oh, there you go. That always, you know, but that's a good thing. But that's also someone you met too. You know what I mean? Like going through this. Mm-hmm. So I did want to bring this up. And Jay, I'm going to say naughty to you, sir, for never saying this, because I've been in a car with you driving by. So the gas station you worked back, like you said, you worked at is still there. It's not a gas station now. It's just an auto garage. But when you were there, the owner of the gas station asked you to build a sign, right?
Yeah.
That sign that you built, you're 15, 16 years old. He asked you to build this sign. This is kind
10th grade. Yep.
10th grade. So this is kind of like your first kind of foray into carpentry, which would end up being your career, right? And you built this sign, which Pete, still there to this day, right?
Oh, wow.
We've all driven by it. Pete, do you know the auto garage behind the Wawa where North Wales Road has that, the Wawa North Wales Road where it meets and has like the V, you know, near the
yeah.
That auto garage behind the Wawa is where he used to work. Yeah, across from McKeever's, right?
Yeah, across from McKeever's, right by the train station.
Yeah, and the sign that's there that I've been in the car with Jay, and we've probably driven by 100 times. He never, you know, he failed to mention that his old man was the one that built that sign. You know,
it's funny because every time I drove by it, I pointed it out to him.
That's something that's great though. Like my dad never.
And Jay's like, "This knowledge dies with me. No one else will ever know."
I know, Dad. You made that sign. I know.
I actually, a couple of years ago, I thought it'd be like a cool, like either Christmas or birthday present to try and buy that sign off the place.
Oh, really?
But I thought it was cooler that it was still hanging rather than have them take it off from above the door. Like if you drive by, it's like that brown. It's like a brown sign that hangs right above the entrance.
Yeah.
Don't pay more.
Well, if that building ever goes for sale, we'll have to.
Salvage.
Yeah. What were you? Hold on. What was that?
I said, don't pay more than $60 or you'll get ripped off because that's all he charged.
Could you? But think of. We said this when we met, right, Mr. Bowers? So how 30 years ago you made that, right?
Oh, 45 years ago.
45 years ago, you made that sign.
That's
that is incredible. So the guy who paid that, right? It was less than $1 per year. You know, and who knows, 15 years, you know what I mean? Like it could be
right? Yeah, but you got to think of it there. The guy gave me a job.
True.
Gave me experience. And I did a lot for me.
Yeah.
And you know, I had fun making it, and you know, I didn't know what the hell to charge the guy.
Yeah, but also too, like he gave you kind of like that was almost a career path as well. Because would you say that's like where you're like, look, I'm good at this. I like doing this. I want.
No, I always had an interest in carpentry.
Okay.
I always wanted to get into it eventually. So,
yeah.
You know, I was geared going that direction already.
Nice. And you were kind of like, you know, like. You like doing it and like you wanted, but this was also like testing your mental, like, okay, I like it almost validated your feelings. Like I like doing this and I can do this. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Your first paid job does that to you.
Yeah. Good. And it's
like, I did this. Here's my product. Oh, I'll buy that. Thanks. That's a good feeling.
Yeah. And it should be.
And any profession, it's fake until you make it, right? You're just like pretending like you know what you're doing until you actually do.
Yeah, because like you'll go into a place, you're going to remodel a kitchen.
Yeah.
And you go, well, you're going to rip a wall apart. Well, you don't know if there's pipes back there or there's wires or whatever. And they go, well, how are you going to do it? I don't know until I start ripping it apart and find out what's there.
Yeah.
You know? So you just start going.
Yeah, you kind of just make up, well, I'm going to take the flim flam and I'm going to attach it to the jig bag and I'm going to put it in the schlip schlap and then I'm going to swack the boober and then, you know, make up all these words and be like, oh, wow, yeah, that's what the other guy said he would do too. You know?
I don't know till I rip that wall apart and see what's behind it, you know?
I'll tell you what.
It's like Michelangelo. He didn't know he was going to draw that painting. He's like, oh, there'll be a little penis here. He had to just start going and then he finally got that little penis. And...
He knew. He was like, look, I know this guy Pete's going to be around one day and he's going to appreciate it. All right. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he started with the angel penis and then he kept on moving. And that's the Sistine Chapel. So there you go. All right. So nice. So this is honestly I'm going to try and get a picture of that sign to post when we do the video for this episode.
I'll get one to you.
Oh, that'd be great. And I'll make the promo poster of it. So hopefully everyone, when you see the promo poster, you'll see a picture of this sign, hopefully. But okay, so let's keep it moving. So you're pumping gas there and you're still in high school and stuff like that. You built the sign for the gas station. Then you left there and you were a stock boy at King's Depot, the department store.
Department store, yeah.
Okay. So then what you're going there as a stock boy, and this is like entry level. So a stock boy, you're just essentially like, you're just hauling stuff.
Hauling boxes and putting price tags on things.
Oh, nice. All right. Did you have the price tag gun or no?
Yeah, the little gun. You sit there and you as fast as you can, you know.
That's great. So, okay, cool. So, and was this just for a certain department or was it everywhere? You're stocking everything.
When I was a stock boy, it was for the whole store.
Uh-huh.
But then eventually they gave me a job as a department manager.
Oh, nice.
Just for hardware, and that didn't go too well.
No. So, well, how old were you so they gave you a managerial position?
Yeah, I was 18 years old.
18 years old. So
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You're a young guy, and I think we talked about this. There were older guys that worked in the department, were there?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they probably looked at you like this little snot coming in. You know what I mean? Right? So
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and they
were these guys jokers, or were some of them like, oh, I shouldn't have been passed up, or?
Nah, they were retail guys that really had no life. I was just a kid, you know. When you're like 40 years old and you had the same job as they gave the 18-year-old kid that was just a stock boy, you know.
Yeah.
You can sit there and whine all they want. You just got to look in the mirror.
Exactly.
Like, I'm still your boss.
Yeah.
I'll get back to work.
There's a reason that they picked the kid who actually, I bet they sat like, that's one thing that we brought up on the show where it comes to like jobs, like complaining the most, doing the least, and not being committed doesn't get you a managerial position. As much as you want it to, it's not going to work. Right. So you came in, you probably just kept your head down.
I was always a hard worker, you know.
Yeah.
When I was a stock boy, I did what I had to do, and
and
you have to be told what to do.
Yeah, and you could figure it out. Problem solving is is a skill that people don't like. I wish you could put it down on your resume. You know what I mean? Like, think on your feet and problem solve are two of the most valuable skills you can have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Somebody's been in a management position before. The other thing too is I love note takers. There's nothing worse than like when you're talking to someone and you're like, well, where are your notes at? Like, are you going to remember this, or am I going to tell you the same exact thing like next week? You know, so anybody that's taking notes, or someone you know is like, oh, I told this guy one time and I haven't had to tell him again. Like, managers notice that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good, which they should. And honestly, like, you should hold yourself accountable. You know what I mean? Like, you don't go to a job to get paid to do the least amount you can. You know what I mean? Like, you go there to do the job. I don't know. I think that's just like a blue collar attitude that I think was instilled by all of our parents who kind of had the same mentality. You know what I mean? Which is good. You know?
I know one thing that there's a quote that I heard years ago. It was, do more than you get paid for to make an investment for your future.
That's a good
all right. I like that.
That's always been kind of one that I used, was like, I'm going to do more than, go above and beyond, because people are going to notice that.
Yes.
And look favorably upon you.
Yeah. Dude, another quote my dad used to say, you little shits are so lazy, you thought manual labor was the president of Mexico. Yeah. But so no, Jay, you are 100% right. That is the truth. Go above and beyond. You know what I mean? And hopefully, like, let's be honest, there are some places where people politic and things like that. But I think that if you do show true work ethic, and you have to believe this, is that your true work ethic and the hard work and the being committed and being a team player, all that will show and come out positive in the end. I truly believe that. So nice. So like we said, Mr. Bowers, you started off as the stock boy, then you went to managing the hardware department, but then things didn't work out there, whatever. And then you moved over to, you started
the domestics department.
Yes. Okay.
Which was sheets, pillows, towels, just all that crap.
Kind of like the Homes Goods kind of place, right? Yeah. So you went over there. What happened? So, and did you go over there in the managerial position as well?
Yes.
Okay. So when you went to the domestic department, how did it go? What was that like? And what did you do there?
Well, there was 2 old ladies that had worked there ever since I became a stock boy, and they ran the place.
Yeah.
Next thing they give this 18-year-old kid, you're their boss now, like, they're looking at me like, are you kidding me? I didn't know what a fitted sheet was to a towel,
Yeah.
So I looked at these 2 ladies and I said, look, I'm your boss. I said, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I said, you girls been running this department for years. I said, think of me as your personal stock boy. You need me to sign something, and we'll get along fine. And sure enough, she was like, Carl, I need this. Bam, I'd get it for her. And we worked out really well. Because I knew they knew what they were doing. I had no clue.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they're going to run it. They're going to keep running it. I'm going to look good.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, in the work ethic comparison between the hardware department and the domestic department? Would you say that the ladies in the domestic department were harder workers than the guys in the hardware?
Well, they knew their job better.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to work harder. They just
work smarter. Yeah.
Work smarter. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. That's awesome. Good. And then you were able to, you were successful there, which is nice. And then after, so then you're doing the domestic remodeling, and then did you start roofing at the same time, or were you roofing and managing at the same time, or how did that work?
I started after I was done the manager positions. I went into home remodeling with a company that had called me years before that. They asked me for a job and I turned them down. So I finally got a job with them, started learning the home remodeling business.
Why did you turn them down the first time? Do you remember?
Because I just got the manager jobs.
Oh, okay.
At King's Department Store.
Okay, so
you
got
the like, promotion.
Yeah. You're like, I'm going to stick with the promotion.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
And then they called me back about a year or so later.
Yeah.
And I said, this managing thing's not working out, so I better bail and start doing home remodeling. And they taught me a lot, and that's where I got my beginnings.
Nice. So you do start the home remodeling and things like that, and that really was another kind of gas station kind of deal where it's like you're working, but you're also learning, and you're learning not only valuable lessons.
In high school, I went to tech school for carpentry.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I was always geared to go towards that eventually.
I see. So you knew like the road ended in the carpentry eventually.
Yeah.
When you're doing the remodeling though, like, so you had, and it was like an older guy who kind of ran the remodeling company. So
your 2 brothers owned it.
Okay. So
that I knew in Boy Scouts actually.
Oh, yeah. So then they must have known that. Did they do the tech school too? Or?
They saw the sign. They saw the sign.
Yeah. No, but they actually called the tech school to get my name.
Oh no shit!
And when they got my name from the tech school, they remembered me from Boy Scouts, and that's why they called me back a second time.
Wow!
They couldn't just look you up on Facebook.
Well, I didn't have a Facebook. It was called a phone book back then.
They saw the sign and it opened up their eyes. They saw the sign. That's for damn sure. So nice. So okay. So the 2 guys called you. When you're there though, like I was saying, you're learning the remodeling, the physical part of like, ripping out, putting back together, all that thing. But then you're also learning like how to negotiate, what the pricing is like, how to talk to the customers, how to interact and things like that as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but that was more their end of it. I was more the you know, the labor, the work.
Would you
We
say
call that
you?
back of the house versus front of the house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So would you say that you had to gain that skill later, or did you kind of see what they were doing and pick up little things from them, or were you just strictly, I'm here to do the work and I'm here to leave. I'm not a customer guy.
Well, you do pick up a little bit of, you know, that, but
Yeah.
basically it's like, you know,
You gotta
this
learn.
is what I want you to do. How much is it going to cost? You know, you figure it out and here you go.
Nice. So, okay, so let's get into this then. So what kind of things were you doing at first with the home remodeling? Because okay, so we had a guy and we aired his episode today, Steve Cabot, and for him, he starts when he worked in an auto garage. So he's starting out with the oil changes, the tire rotations, the changing tires and all that thing. Then eventually he's going to the diagnostics and all that stuff. So when you get like this, your entry level at the remodeling at this point, what kind of things are you doing at the entry level of the remodeling?
Basically roofing and siding.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I'm talking ripping off slate roofs.
Oh,
putting new plywood down, re-shingling them.
Oh my God.
Ripping siding off is basically outside work, roofing, siding.
What was like what was the ultimate grunt job? Like, oh, this is the new guy. This is what we have him doing today. What was the worst job you could get rid of
Like
that?
digging a pit or what?
Clean up slate shingles that you just thrown off the roof.
Oh, so
got to throw them in a dumpster or a pickup.
Yeah, and so like usually I've seen this where it's like they put a tarp on the ground, you're ripping it up, throwing it, and it goes on the tarp, right? So then eventually they're like, all right, you grab the bad shingles and you throw them in the truck or the dumpster, and that was you.
Yeah, but you couldn't use the tarp with the slates because it would just rip it apart.
Oh,
shreds while you're done. So
no.
you would just try to hit the dumpster the best you could.
Yeah.
And clean up around it.
So is that something when you're negotiating the price with the person, you tell them like, look, this is slate. You will need a dumpster. You're not going to be able to use.
Well, you already know that in the price, you know.
Yeah.
You know, your first line is remove and dispose of existing roof, you know. So whatever that entails is what you have to do.
So another thing we wanted to bring up, and I want you to tell the story about your brother, but I'll tell you what, man, me and Pete, we've done some training and fighting and wrestling and all these things, but roofing, it's one of these things. We have a saying in boxing, right? In boxing is the only way to train for this shit is to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can run 10 miles and do whatever. I don't give a shit. Doesn't mean you can last around, right?
Yep.
The same thing for roofing. The only way to train for that shit is to do it, right? You're hauling 90-pound bags of shingles and slate. You're carrying the slate up a ladder, down a ladder. You're hucking shingles all over the place. You're carrying tools. You're doing all this stuff, and it's in the hot sun. There's no AC. Nope. You know what I mean? So what kind of, how are, like, at this point, you must have been a lean, mean fighting machine, just doing your thing. Young man doing the roofing, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. When I was in my 20s, I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So where you told me a story, do you want to tell the story about your brother coming home and
he came in from the Marine Corps boot camp?
Yeah.
And he was a lean, mean fighting machine. It was like a metamorphosis, this change.
Yeah.
And we were doing my parents' roof. So he was going to help us out. So I said, all right, throw a bundle of shingles on your shoulders and get up on the roof. I said, we need about a square up there, which is 3 bundles.
Yeah.
It's all right. So I threw a bundle on my shoulders and ran up the ladder. My buddy threw a bundle on his shoulders, ran up the ladder. About 5 minutes later, we're watching my brother, lean, mean, fighting Marine, trying to get this bundle of shingles up onto his shoulder and then walk up the ladder. It was kind of a riot. It was funny. I said, like, in Iwo Jima, you know, they sent a bunch of roofers over there. That would have been cleaned up in about 3 days.
If they had to change the roof on the beaches of Normandy, that shit would have been over in an hour.
Yep. So it was kind of self-rewarding to watch that, you know.
Was he your older brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Mr. Bowers hears about like, oh, we've been in Afghanistan for 18 years. Like, just send some roofers over there. It would have been done in 1 year. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, some beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Bin Laden, he would have had a nice new roof and he would have been dead right underneath it away.
It's funny.
That asshole, I'll kick his ass.
That's right. Like we wrestled at a pretty high level, you know, so we had gone to like all these liftings and everything, but I swear to God, the most strength I ever gained over one weekend was one weekend where I tore up my parents' carpet in their basement and like replaced it. Oh. And I was like, I happened to be at the right age. I was like in 9th grade. And I remember like when wrestling practice one week, I couldn't beat these kids. I tore up the carpet. Then the next Tuesday, I was beating everyone. Like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. I just tore up carpet, and all of a sudden, I got this super strength after like one weekend.
Dude, that is a real thing. That manual labor strength is like, that is real thing. We've spoken about a bar on the show called Graham's Pub, Land of the Free, Home of the Brave, and there's a bunch of Irish guys straight from off the boat from Ireland. These guys are all construction, do that. They're smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, but these guys are just made out of stone, just because they've been doing construction their whole lives. And you see a lot of guys like that. How about though, for you, Mr. Bowers, did you ever let your brother live it down? Right? Like if that's me, like I beat asshole in a game of air hockey one time, and I tell him almost everything.
I bring it up once in a while.
Sure. You got to stick it to them, man, and it's the best. They hate it. Oh, it's the best.
I got a better one with my even older brother.
Oh, what happened?
He was a career college student in the beginning.
Yeah.
So one day he calls me up. I'm just a kid, still living at home. Just getting into home remodeling, and he goes, "Hey, I got this clock I need you to hang. Can you come over and hang this clock for me?" I'm like, "Hang a clock? It's a freaking nail on the wall."
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's electric. Maybe need something hooked up. I don't know. I'll go over and look at it.
Yeah.
So I go over and look at it, and I go, "So where do you want this clock hung?" He goes, "We see where that picture is?" And I went, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, hang it up there." So I walked over, I took the picture off the wall, and then I took the clock and I stuck it on the same hook. And I go, "Is that what you wanted?" And he says to me, "Is that all it took?" This guy went to college for 4 years. Is that all it took?
Oh, man.
What the hell do you expect?
Mr. Bauer shows up. The older brother has like blueprints out. He's like, "Look, I know that this wood, it's got the studs over here. The pipes are on this side."
Look, they said it was plaster of Paris. We don't know what the chemical compound is, but I got a nail. Looks like it's steel. You tell me.
My chemistry professor.
He wouldn't have put that much thought into it, though.
Yeah. Those college kids never do. Thinking's not what college kids do. I'll tell you that. I've met plenty of that and doing a thought in their life. Yep. So, all right. So great. That honestly, love a good younger brother sticking it to an older brother story, because those are the best. Okay. So let's keep it moving though. So you left the home, you left that remodeling, right? And then you did, then you started to do you went full-time remodeling, right?
For myself, yeah.
For yourself. And then at the same time, you went back and you were doing the, you went back to the hardware store part-time. Is that right or no?
Yeah, that was after my car accident.
Okay.
I went to the hardware store.
Okay. So let's get into this then. So, what year so you started the business, and I get it's still going to this day, Lansdale Home Improvement, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you started that business with your buddy Dave, and you guys ran it, and it's still around to this day, right?
Yeah, we started in 89.
89.
Oh, wow.
That's incredible. So, all right. So Jay, you were 4 when they started the business. I guess we were 4. We're the same age. But all right. So you started in 89, and I remember I moved here in 92. Right. And I would see your van all the time. Oh, forget it. You had the vans, everything going. So the whole thing. So you're doing the remodeling. So can we walk through like the process of how it would be? So say I'm the customer, right? So I'm the customer. I call up, Lansdale Home Run, like, "Hey, I want to redo my kitchen." Right. Was that something you would do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So you would redo the kitchen, or I need you to redo the kitchen, and you say, "Okay, I'm going to come over and I'm going to give you an estimate." Right? Is that how it would go? Okay.
Yep.
You walk in. What's the first thing you're looking for as soon as you walk in?
The job.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the kitchen. A lot of guys would look and see what the house was like. Are these people rich? Are they poor?
Oh.
But, I never did that. I looked at the job, see what it took my time to do and how much it would cost, and I'd bid it. If you had a Cadillac or a clunker out there, that didn't matter. I'd price them up the same.
And that's honestly, and I bet that's why your business thrived and is still around to today, because you gave honest labor. So you're going to this house and you're looking and you're, you know, like you're not going in there saying, oh, is that a Ferrari in the driveway? If this house brand new, whatever, you're going in and your thought is, I'm here for the job. I'm not here to, you know, screw some people. And we had talked about this even in the episode today. You as a craftsman have a responsibility to the client of like, this is someone's home that you're working in. You're not here to screw them. You're not here to make sure they can't make rent. You're here to get paid and do your job, but you're not here to, you know, you're here to do the right job and do the right thing. And
I wasn't the guy that was going to sit there with my proposal and not leave till you signed it. Here's my proposal. Let me know. And I'd leave.
Yeah.
You have these companies that'll sit there and they'll just, you know, they won't leave your house until you sign.
What?
Some of these window companies, and they really put the pressure on. I didn't put pressure on. Here's my price. If you want it, fine. If not, I'm not your guy.
Honestly, that's the best advertising you could have because it's an honest price, right? Because
a lot of places too, they go through like a song and dance. They like, oh, like we'll beat this thing with a hammer, and then after like an hour and a half of them making, they're like, all right, do you want our business down? You're like, well, I don't really know, but you feel like you already put an hour and a half through the demonstration. I guess I have to go with you. Like what?
Yeah, well, most of our job was word of mouth.
Yeah,
that's the best advertisement you can have.
Absolutely.
And been working since '89.
Yeah, and look,
never been sued, never got stuck for a check, never had to, you know, very few times had to go back and make a repair on something we did. I'm talking less than a handful of times.
That just speaks to your work ethic and the quality of the work, you know, and like you're saying, word of mouth. Like if you do my kitchen, you gave me a fair price. The work was exquisite.
And we're not done until you're happy.
Yeah. And you were in, like you weren't hassling me or bullying me for the price. You just did your thing and left. I'm saying that to Pete saying that to every, you know, like, and that's how it's going to work. And you turn into like, you're one of those people I consider like a guy, right? So if Pete says, God, I got to redo my kitchen, I don't want to do this, it'll be like, oh, I got a guy, and you're the guy.
Yeah,
you know, and that's
there's like four things that you're always like, oh, you know somebody, I want to know that guy. It's like you're a mechanic, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, and you're a carpenter. Like those are the four guys. Like if you have someone that's good, they isn't going to screw you over. Everyone wants to know.
Well, we've had customers that we've gone back to their house a dozen times doing stuff. You know, different things. You know, we shutters. You know, bathroom, roof. You know, family room.
How often did you find yourself going to a house to fix somebody else's work, where they went with another cheaper contractor, or maybe I guess that's what I like to know.
It's happened a few times.
Great question.
I used to be a big fan of Adam Kroll, and he used to do a show called Catch a Contractor, where he would get the contractors that were doing the shady work, and I was like, that was fascinating to me.
Yeah,
so
they would never catch us because we never screwed up like that.
Yeah, but you'd be the guy that they would hire to catch. Like, oh, this guy screwed us up. He hasn't been around in 2 months, and we need this kitchen done. Like that kind of a work, you know.
What? So that's kind of a thing where, like, so if I got a guy, I hire him and sign the contract. The contract's kind of like, I wouldn't say ironclad, but it is in a way, right?
Well, it's more that you can't get blood from a stone. So it's like you might sue him, but if he has no money, what are you going to do? So then you just have to find somebody better to finish up the work, kind of a situation.
Wow.
So, do you have any good stories about like any of those situations where you went in to fix up somebody's mess? Or
not really. You know, sometimes when we did, they didn't tell us what somebody else had screwed it up.
Oh no! Shit.
No, I've heard stories. I've heard a lot of stories similar to that.
But you also, like, I'm assuming by like kind of towards the end of it, you know, even at the beginning, you were able to do like you could do a regular row home house all the way up to a mansion, and you could do it all, right? Like you knew how to do it all because it's kind of like cars, right?
Yeah,
like
pretty
different
much.
Parts and different things. You know, maybe high quality parts go to this place instead of this one. And you were able to go through the whole thing and knock them all out, right?
Yeah, we've worked for a wide, diverse, bunch of people.
Yeah.
We've worked for McDonald's Corporation, Friendlies.
Oh, wow.
The guy that owns Connects, we worked on one of his houses.
Oh.
Just all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. Also, plus two, like, so let's get into this some more. So let's talk about this. So you're doing the home remodeling, right? So in the middle, and we'll get into this. So you started in 89. So things are going well, but in the cold season, like the winter, it's kind of work. Does it work slow down a little bit?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So work slows down a little bit.
It's
in the
feast
winter.
and famine, we call
Yeah.
it. You know, you got so much work you can't deal with it, and all of a sudden you're looking for your next job.
Yeah.
And that only really happens when you're first starting up, your first 5, maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have a list you'll never get through. You just keep.
No kidding.
You scratch one off and you add one.
Oh,
Jobs.
You're hoping for the slow season to get rid of the backlog. You're
Yeah,
like, all
just
right, well,
catch up.
hopefully,
Yeah.
so that's honestly, that's a blessing.
You get to the point where the business actually runs itself.
Oh.
You know.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But it's hard work took you to get to that. And like, not skimping on the work, not living up to your word, not overcharging people, not having shitty work. Like that happened because of the hard work that you put into it. And you should be very proud of that. And that's something that, you know, that you should hang your hat on.
Yeah. The guy that owns the business now is the guy I taught coming out of high school. So.
Oh, you sold the business off?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much. You know, he gave me the money for the tools. You know, a business like that is basically your next customer. So it's not like a.
But
it's
not
funny
like I
because
sold
like
the business made millions. You know.
Well, you've already established, like, you're establishing a brand. Lansdale Home Improvement at this point, because of your work, is a brand, and you know, like, people are loyal, and so many people have spread the word that, you know, like when people say that name, they know it's going to be good work, and he's like able to take over that and keep that name going, which is, I think, something very great.
It's the trademark.
Yeah, there's like 24 customers that we constantly go back to all the time.
Oh,
constantly.
And that's the thing. Like, and this guy was like a protege of yours that you sold the business to.
Yeah, in fact, I actually had him fired one time when I worked at the other guy. He was my helper. And he pissed me off so much one time I had him fired.
Oh, that's great.
Then we had a succession of people to replace him that was just like disasters. So I finally went back to the boss and I go,
oh man,
can you hire this guy back? I said, he's kind of a wise ass and a loudmouth, but at least he could do the work.
Yeah.
So they hired him back, and then we eventually went out on our own.
Man, that's crazy how it works, you know.
But the first day he came on the job, he could barely get up on the roof.
Yeah.
He was like, because he was timid and scared. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna suck.
Look, as somebody that's scared of heights, I understand completely.
But he figured it out, and he did a good job, and now he's really good.
Now he's kicking. Now he's
Now he's the owner and doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way you can sell off a business like that, because people are probably used to seeing your face and hearing your voice. But if it's somebody else, like, all right, this is his right hand man, it's taking over the same practice, then it kind of
Well, when we started the business, we were always partners, so it was always the two of us.
Hey.
So this was your partner. You just kind of I get.
Yeah, I taught him when I was working for somebody else, and then we went into business ourselves.
Yeah.
As partners.
Yeah, good.
Then I went to Pace.
So let's
screw him over.
Well, no, let's get into that though. You didn't screw him over. You did. Are you kidding me? And he must have, like, when he's got a tough job, would he still call you when it's like something like does he call you with questions still about the work or anything?
He knows what he's doing now.
Yeah. But was there a time where he's like, hey, this thing's going on, do you know how to handle this, or what I would do for this? Like, does that ever happen?
Yeah, in the beginning when we first started out, I had to lead the way, actually.
How many jobs would you say on average? Like, let's just say it's a good year, right? How many jobs would you get in a year that would be good?
No, it's tough to say, because some jobs drag out for 2-3 months. Some jobs you get done in a week.
Yeah.
Or maybe a day and a half.
Yeah, but like you were saying, like minimum like 10 jobs a year then,
or more. Yeah.
Yeah, like okay, but yeah. So you're out there doing your thing, and this is one thing I always wondered. So we would have, when I was a kid, like obviously my parents would get the roof done or something like that. And my mom was always adamant about making them like a lunch or like food, right? Was that incentive? Like you were going to do a good job before, but say you're like, you had a chance of like, all right, well, maybe I didn't have to go to this house today, but she's going to make me lunch. So I'll head over there. Like, was that ever?
No, nobody ever did that for you.
No one
very few people would do that. Yeah.
No shit.
A couple old ladies would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's between the Johnsons and the Rogers, but the Rogers make cheesesteaks for lunch, so that's Rumhead.
Yeah, very few. Very rarely did anybody ever give us a tip or anything like that. When I was working for somebody else.
Yeah.
In fact, one time I got a tip, and the boss said he wanted it because I used a little bit of his caulk.
Oh my God. What a
The old lady
bad-
goes, "Can you run a bead of caulk here for me, Sonny?" And I said, "Okay." You know, I was there. I was being customer service. You know.
Sure, yeah.
So I did that, and the lady was nice. I ran a little bead of caulk for her, and she gave me a $5 tip. And he goes, "Well, let me have it. That was our caulk." I said, "Screw you."
Yeah. You're like, here's the 11 cents for the caulk. Shove it. You know?
I did. I told my screw you. She gave me a $5 tip. I'm keeping it. He didn't say anything.
Damn right. So 2 things I want to talk about. First is when you're working in like, remodeling or something like that, and say it's an outdoor job. So it's, roofing, siding, whatever. And would you do like sidewalk and concrete stuff as well?
No, I would sub that out.
Okay.
And I would do maybe like a pad replacement, like, one section of sidewalk.
Yeah.
We would do that, but any
Those are-
big job, I would sub that out to a concrete guy.
And is because they're like a specialist kind of?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's a buddy of mine, a good friend. He's a project manager, an engineer. And when I lived with him for a little bit in Fishtown, when he bought his house, he had to do I guess what it's called a wet bed, because his it was an industrial building that they turned into residential. And the floor was just uneven. He's like, "Oh, I can do it myself." But he's working with these union guys. Like, "Look, dude, we'll charge you this much because you're the project manager. Don't do it yourself." After 2 days, I'm like, "Man, Eric, thank God you did not do that yourself, because it took like 3 union guys, like 2 full days."
Yeah,
And
wet
it's
bed's
done right
tough.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
damn. So I know Asshole just got his porch redone, and he had cement guys come in for that. I think cement and concrete. I don't know what the difference is, but they told me, and I forget. Whatever.
I did
So-
learn this recently. Isn't it
Concrete
like
has
with
aggregate
rocks?
in it. Cement doesn't.
What does it have in
Is that
it?
the-
Mr. Burns?
Aggregate is rocks. So
Oh, okay.
cement
The
has
rocks,
aggregate in it.
Oh.
Concrete has
Concrete
aggregate,
doesn't.
and cement doesn't.
Cement doesn't.
Okay, so when I
Ah.
walk down the sidewalk and I see like the sidewalk that has the stones in it, that's concrete.
It's
But
all
si-
concrete.
Okay. And
You
then-
don't see the stones, but it's still concrete.
Oh, I see.
It's still concrete.
Now, cement is what you add to the aggregate to make the concrete.
Oh, I see. All right.
That's one of those things like, oh, concrete cement, but not all cement's concrete, or,
Yeah,
or one
yeah.
of those.
Something
Okay,
like that,
I
yeah.
see. Yeah. All right. So cement is like the base. So it's
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, I got it. Nice. All right. Perfect. So
Interestingly, on the concrete thing, so we're in Manayunk, and my wife's we all like the history and looking up old architecture,
Yeah.
and we found all these old advertisements from the early 1900s where like, get rid of that crappy marble stairs and put in concrete. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, because now I'm like, what? That was the new technology, and I'm like, how many
Yep.
people wish they still had the marble
Oh.
and granite slates?
Oh,
Well, on the
man.
Titanic, they had a new
Yeah.
marvelous building material that they built the steps out of. It was
Okay.
linoleum.
Oh.
Linoleum. They thought it was like this magnificent product. And it was linoleum.
Yeah, we won't need tile anymore. We have linoleum. It's going to replace all tiles.
But it was high tech back in 1912, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
So wait, they're going on to the Titanic. They're like, this is the biggest boat ever built. It's got all this, it's got all that, and then look at these stairs.
Linoleum.
That's fucking
Queen Elizabeth II's got straight up tiles like peasants. We got this new stuff from America. It's going to be a game changer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was high tech.
Yeah, did you see those noodles over there? Jesus, tile. Come on. Get a clue. Linoleum, wave of the future. Next, they're gonna have wooden floors. Idiots. Yeah. So, all right, nice. So I do want to. So, okay. So you're working outside. You're doing roofing or shingles or whatever. What happens when it rains? If you see were you checking the weather on the jobs? And if
Yeah,
you're
you had to. You had to check the day before too, just in case you got a roof exposed.
yeah.
Oh,
you, you had to make sure it was covered up temporarily with felt paper.
How would you cover the roof? So for dudes like me and Pete. So let's say you go there, first things first, you rip up the old shingling, right? So that just exposes the wood underneath the shingling,
Mhm.
which is kind of the base of the roof, right?
Yeah.
So then when you see the wood under there, there's obviously cracks or something like that, or the wood can be damaged by
To
rain.
be rotted. Mm-hmm.
So what do you do how do you cover that to prevent?
Okay, what you do is
rain?
you do any of the rot repair any of the wood rot.
Okay.
And then if you don't have a chance to shingle it yet and it's going overnight, you would take tar paper or what they call felt paper and waterproof the roof as best you can for overnight with this
Yeah.
felt paper.
Okay.
And what you got to remember is water goes downhill and has to shed off the next the piece. You can't have anything trapping water inside. So if you just remember, water runs downhill and has to flow over top of things, you can waterproof it pretty well,
And you can kind of build like a ramp to kind of shoot the
water around. Yeah, get it around, like divert it around the chimney temporarily.
I see. So, all right, very cool.
And every time you had a roof ripped off that night, it freaking poured. And you could never sleep. And you're always like, did I waterproof it good enough? And we always did.
Yeah. If you didn't, though, you would be responsible for the
repairs inside. Yeah, like damaged drywall or anything like that. Yeah.
Oh, man. Could you imagine? So, damn. So that's pretty cool, though. But, like, there is also the thought of like maybe you've done like, dude, you're saying it's the middle of summer. We're talking the dead heat in July, and you're going 17 days straight working nonstop jobs, right? And you're like, oh, it's calling for rain tomorrow. Oh, please let it rain. You see that rain, and you're like, all right, day off finally.
Yep.
Right? Is that kind of how it would go?
Yeah, unless the boss called you and said we have something inside for you. And that would suck. But like, sometimes you would really revere you'd like the rain days just for a day off.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, we know it's raining, but the basement needs to get finished. They obviously have no windows or AC, so this one's going to be a 2-dayer.
Yeah. So you're just going to be sitting in a sauna all day, breathing in concrete. Yeah. It'll be fun. I can't imagine too. So is it when it's the busy season, you're literally trying to work almost every day then? Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because you're like, we're getting as much as we can until the slow season kicks. Is there ever you doing 2 jobs in one day? Is that
sometimes you go to 3 or 4. Oh, like if you're doing a bathroom repair,
yeah,
you do the drywall and you have to skim it with drywall. I mean, with a spackle.
Yeah.
Well, that's wet. You got to wait for the next day to continue. So you'd hit that and you go to the next job, do something there, go to the next job.
Wow.
There's a lot of time management. Like I can't only do this, so I have to, you're staging everything.
Yeah, you have to wait for something to dry or whatever.
And then the next day you go back and maybe you sand it, hit again, and it's still wet. You got to leave and come back. And
oh man. So that's pretty cool though. Since I am almost a man, I did one time caulk a bathtub, just saying.
Attaboy.
Yeah. Learned a trick, apparently. So the bathtub, it was like one of the liner ones, it's like, it's like almost
acrylic.
Yeah, exactly. So what had happened is that when the caulk was put on it originally, there was no water in it. So eventually over the years, the water in it kind of made a little space underneath where the faucet was, and some water would get under there, causing water to go to the floor downstairs.
Rotting it out.
Yeah, exactly. So what your boy, old Uncle Matty, did was I filled the tub up with some water, and then I caulked that son of a bitch and made it airtight. That's what a man fucking does. I tell you that. I cracked a beer after that. That was a
nice one.
Yeah, hard hours work there, pal.
My upcoming project is I have to clean, sand, and stain our deck. So if Jay gets a call from me crying in the next week or 2, don't judge.
So at this time, right, you're living on 6th Street. I'm there. The whole crew's hanging out, doing our thing. And I've talked about this on Jay's episode, and I must think, like, my wife can't do this. So I can only imagine how Mrs. Bowers and then Jay's wife must love the fact that they can walk into any room in their house and say, you know what, maybe let's just redo the bathroom, put up some shiplap, and maybe get whatever kind of whatever's in here. And you're just
I'm going to make sure my wife doesn't hear this podcast, so she doesn't expect these things.
Yeah. But like the fact that you and Jay, like your wife, Mr. Bowers, legit said, hey, let's just put a whole second house on the back of our house. What do you think? Right? And so you built an addition onto the back of your existing house that included a TV room, a kitchen, skylights, plank and beam ceiling, a basement, and a half bath, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you built all of that onto the back of your house. Because I remember when we were kids, because you started building it, I guess we were 2nd grade-ish, right, Jay? Maybe 8 or 9, somewhere around there.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, but I remember we would go over and play in like the structure. Like we would jump out of like, the window that was like the 1st floor. Like, just kids being stupid. And like we would
Baka. was like Bach still lost he lost a boot in the mud.
So I had brought this.
Is this
up.
where Womp was born or no?
No,
No, that was 4th Street
Yeah, that
Park.
was born at the park. But
Still
no,
alive, by the way.
still alive and kicking. But I brought this up on the pre-show. I said, Alan, so what are the boots where their bottom are rubber and you lace up the top? I forget what the hell they're called. But Bach, so around the basement, they had to dig out a big thing for the basement and then concrete the basement. So maybe 3 feet of dirt around the circumference was almost like quicksand, right?
Mhm.
And we were like kids jumping in and playing and throwing mud and being idiots, obviously, right? And somehow freaking Bach got his shoes caught, right? And they had to rip him out, and he lost his shoes in the mud, and you couldn't find them, right? And Bach, he just ran home with no shoes. He lost his shoes.
They got to still be in the ground.
Yeah,
I never found one.
Yeah, they were made
We
of
dug
rubber.
around looking for them everywhere.
Yeah.
In 70 years, they're going to knock the house down. I'm like, did they bury a kid in their basement? What was going on here?
Oh, that's the best. But okay, so either way, like I was saying, Mr. Bowers was able to build the structure, put in the concrete, make the piping, the electricity, the siding, the shingles, the everything on the inside. And we spent years and so many sleepovers and just hanging out in that room. And he was able to build that for his family. I can only imagine how much the honor he got and how great of a feeling was to be able to provide that for your family. But then also your wife must have just been like, this is incredible. I married the freaking hand of the year. Yeah. Obviously it was never good enough, there's still it could have been bigger, right? Yeah. Maybe
she never did that.
No,
She never did that.
She's the best. Shout out Miss Bowers. Love Miss Bowers. Great lady. Can't wait to have her on the show. But then he built the back, the addition, and then the year later built a deck that went against it, a beautiful deck, stairs that you could fit a grill and picnic tables and all that fun stuff on there. He was able to build that for his whole family, and it's unbelievable skill to have. And it's honestly, I'm very envious. I know Pete's probably the same way, very envious of being able to have that skill and that ability. And it's not just, honestly too, and we talked about this, it does take some artistic creativity and ability to be able to do that. Yeah, you're not painting a sculpture, but you're building that addition is almost artwork, it comes out of thin air, right? Yeah. And it's you had this vision in your head that you were able to bring to life. And I know you said it best, you're not an artist, you're a craftsman, right? And I agree with that, but I've seen and I've been in that structure. It was phenomenal. It's could you right now, I know I couldn't, if you gave me all the tools in the world, I don't think I could build a structure that could survive a storm. You know what I mean?
I got a good story about that.
Oh, all right.
My buddy and I,
go for it.
We built a big addition for some friends of ours up in Douglasville. And they were having a really nasty storm go through their development the time we were building that addition. They said they ran out of their house into the addition because the wind was so strong. They thought their house was going to blow down. So they ran into the addition we built because it was solid plywood. It was like a rock.
Yeah.
So they said they ran into the addition because they thought the rest of their house was going to blow down.
Jesus, could you imagine living in a house oh man, I got this nice house here, but oh Jesus, it's the fact that that just shows once again to the quality of your work that people are a tornado, fuck the tornado, we're gonna go in the addition, we'll be all right, screw this.
That's Mr. Bowers. Me and my wife, when we first moved in together, we got an apartment in Fishtown, right in front in Girard, and this was there's a big housing boom going on there where they're building new houses, and there was an apartment building being built across the street. And it was to the point where they were starting to they were shingling and painting. The windows were in. A storm comes through and knocks it down. And I'm like, oh my God, this 4 or 5-story apartment building just got knocked down. And it wasn't finished yet. I'm like, what were they doing? A weight bearing paint was going on in this thing. You had the windows and doors in. Nothing you were going to do was going to keep this thing upright. But I was just,
there's no part of construction that it should have blown down at any point.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. You can't convince me that oh no, it wasn't finished yet. I see windows on the 4th floor. I know it's finished.
Oh my God. That's unbelievable. Dude, seeing, I mean, but that's the thing too, like being able to build a structure that can withstand like nature's biggest fucking shit, like forget it.
The main reason we build them.
Yeah.
The key there is just plywood.
Plywood, really?
Plywood, not the foam. They use that foam insulation for shielding. No, you can't.
Right.
Use plywood.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's what I see all the new construction techniques here, where they have the foam building blocks and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if I trust this. I don't. That's why my house is from 1900. That's where I got my house built. 1900. I'm like,
yours is
they know what they were doing.
Same. Mine's stone, concrete, stone, and brick, baby. Freaking bring on Hurricane Sandy and freaking El Nino, whatever. This shit ain't going anywhere. But I would say, but no, that's a good point, because I remember in our neighborhood, they knocked down like a bunch of trees and stuff, and they built these developments, and these developments, big, beautiful homes. But like you're saying, they're made out of freaking foam. Yeah, they're made of crap. Like if something big comes in, they're wiped the hell out. I don't care if they're a $400,000 home. It ain't lasting, Nope. Like you think you would pay for something that would last, but no. Like, I mean, I don't know. To me, like there's no, I don't know. I mean, I've held plenty of coolers, but I don't think any of them could survive a freaking tornado, But
so I don't want to defame anybody, but would you say that the buildings built by Schmothers are pretty crappy, or are they good?
I never heard of them.
Yeah.
They're probably no good.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Old Tay, others gray.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no, they're VP of tax, so I can't say too much.
Oh my god. So all right, let's keep it moving so we don't incriminate ourselves. All right. So I want to talk about this. So you were at one point working 3 jobs. Now, like you have 2 sons at this point. You have a home, everything like that. And we're all, you're living on 6th Street doing your thing. You put the addition on the home. You got the back porch, I believe, or it might be coming soon. Either way, but in the busy season, you're doing your business, land sale, home improvements, going good. Then in the light season, you started working at this place called Pace Supply Sales, right?
Pace Supply, yeah, building supplies.
Okay, so Pace Supply, and what kind of stuff did they have at Pace Supply? Like, what kind of things were you doing?
Well, I was purchasing there for years, since like '77. Roofing, siding, that kind of material, plywood, felt.
So kind of like the remodeling material. So like you had a relationship with these guys because of your business.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so they knew you knew the business inside and out and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Did they contact you for the job, or did you ask them?
Yeah, a buddy of mine was the manager at the time. And he gave me a call and goes, "Oh, I know you got a home improvement business, but would you think about coming here and working at the counter sales?" And it was feast or famine back then. You had plenty of work, or you didn't have anything, or you had bad weather. Yeah, and 2 young kids. Yeah, house. The whole bit. So you know what? I'll take a steady job with a salary.
Yeah, for sure.
So I did that for about 6 months. Then I had that car accident working for them.
All right, fans, time for a break in the action. Bring you back one of our new segments. This is Give It a Shot with our good friend Bob Quinn. If you're sick of wasting time surfing on streaming services, finding nothing, then going to another streaming service and doing the same damn thing, then you need to start giving shit a shot. On this new segment, Give It a Shot with Bob Quinn, Bob will give us some suggestions on what to watch so you stop wasting time surfing and start enjoying those subscriptions at your ceiling. Bob, give us a shot.
If you're looking for something good to watch, check out King of Staten Island on HBO. This isn't your standard Judd Apatow movie. Pete Davidson, Bill Burr, Marissa Tomei, and Maude Apatow coming at you with a runtime about 2 hours and 18 minutes. What I'm saying is give it a shot.
All right, that was Give It a Shot with our good friend Bob Quinn. Now, back to the show. So, yeah. So let's get into that. So we talked about it before, and it is something I want to bring up. So I remember this, and it was like it really was a thing that infected like our whole neighborhood, really, because like we all were over your house all the time, and like our dads knew each other, like you knew my dad and Alan's dad, and everything like that. And so what had happened was you're working at the Pace Supply. Now, you had told me this when we talked, that when you're working at Pace Supply, you were still getting the itch. Like you didn't want to be behind the counter. You're a guy, you want to be out there, you want to be doing the jobs, you want to be with the guys, you want to be on the roof, you want to be doing whatever, right? So you're at Pace Supply and you're getting antsy and you're used to these hustle days outside, like building things. Like you must, like, I can only imagine the kind of feeling you must get, feeling of accomplishment when you start a job and you finish it and it looks great and it's done correct. And like the feeling you must get for doing that, it can't be matched. And so you're used to that feeling, you know, almost daily, and you're doing all these great jobs, and there's a lot of honor in your work. You know, you're building homes for people to live and support their families and do all that stuff. And now you're relegated to, like, at the time you're kind
shuffling papers.
Yeah, exactly. And you're in your mind, you're like, this is, like, this isn't for me. I want to be out there. I want to be where the action is. Yeah. So you're at work one day, right? And they say, hey, we need to make a delivery. Right?
Yes.
So, and you told me, what was the deal with the owner's car? What was the deal?
We had an old LTD station wagon.
Okay.
That wasn't running too good.
Yeah.
They had just got it fixed.
Okay.
They go, yo, take the car. I want to see how it's running. But I would usually take my van for deliveries like that because I'm used to it. You know, it was easier.
And it was your kind of car. And so so the owner's like, hey, I just got this thing fixed up. Go take it for a spin. So they fill up the supplies in the back of the station wagon. You're out taking, you're in the station wagon doing the delivery. And then what happened?
On the way back, I'm coming down Allentown Road. Some guy fell asleep, drifted over my lane and hit me head on.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, and Allentown Road, your wife, Mrs. Bowers, was working at her job at the same time
on Allentown
Road at the old Lehigh Valley Dairy.
Yep.
And your sons, both Jay and David, are in school at the time. There's no cell phones or anything like that.
No.
So do you remember the kind of car that the guy that hit you was driving?
He had like an El Camino station wagon, like pickup truck.
Yeah.
So it was almost like an equal duel.
You know? Yeah, but one guy knew and one guy didn't. Yeah. So you're in the car, you're in the station wagon, and the guy drifts over and he hits you head on, right?
Yep.
And there's two things you told me that it's almost miraculous. Like I feel like these kind of things are a fixed point in time, you know, like I feel like this accident would have happened regardless, right? Had you had your van and not the station wagon, what would have happened?
They'd probably been killed.
And the reason is because the engine block in the station wagon it crushed you, but it
absorbed most of the impact, yeah.
And if you're in the van, the car just ripped.
There was nothing there, yeah. The engine block was sitting right next to me.
Jesus.
So there would have been nothing to block that.
Oh, Jesus.
So I lucked out. I was pretty lucky.
And then the second thing you told me is what happened right before the car hit you.
Well, the minute I saw, it happened within a split second.
Yeah.
But the minute I saw the car tap the front of it was like it was like a click. It wasn't a smash. It sounded like a click.
Yeah.
I said, shit.
Yeah.
That fast.
Yeah.
And because I said this, I said shit. My air was leaving my lungs. If I had held my breath and hit the wheel, she said it would have punctured my lungs.
Jesus.
So just saying the word shit saved a lot of trauma.
Yeah. So cursing wasn't really frowned upon after that.
So when you hit
all the times my mom and dad told me to mind my P's and Q's, they saved your life.
How about it?
So,
Jesus Christ.
So I was lucky to say that. And actually, I was holding on to the wheel so tight. The force of the impact, I kind of bent the wheel back.
Jesus.
Holding it.
Oh my God. So you're like, you're holding on it so tight that it hit you. You go back and you're just, your adrenaline's going in the strength. You pull a freaking steering wheel. Jesus. So the car hits you, you're there and you're trapped.
Yeah.
This car hit you head on and
they had to cut me out. Yeah.
Oh God. Were you still awake when they cut you out?
On and off. I remember yelling at the rescue guys. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And I remember a lady
How
coming
crazy
up.
Is that for our society and culture where like you're first, I didn't do it. Like you're dying. You're like, no, I didn't do it. Like
yeah.
And I remember a lady coming out and looking in the car, and I said, "Can you call my boss and tell him I'll be late getting back to work?"
Oh my gosh.
And that's exactly what she told him.
Oh my God.
Your employee was in a car accident. He's going to be a little late getting back to work. She didn't say there was a helicopter landed to take him to the hospital.
Oh, golly. Damn, I'll tell you what, I mean, it's a shame to think like right now, had that happened, it's on video on someone's cell phone being on Facebook for your kids to see without them knowing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then also that, the person that's you isn't telling like, oh, let my boss know. Right. Like, like they're probably like, I'm going to call my lawyer and all this happy horse shit, whatever. But so then
this is a very Northeast blue collar Catholic guilt. Just like I got hit by another car and right away it's like, it's not my fault and tell my boss will be there when I can be there. Like first thoughts.
I'm still
not get me to the hospital.
Right now.
Not like tell my kids I'm all right. It's I didn't do it and tell my boss don't dock the pay.
Well, the funny thing is when the helicopter landed, they wheeled me out, and my boss, the owner of the company, was there.
Yeah.
And my wife had gotten there. Yeah. But then when they wheeled me out, I met all these people right after the accident. I looked at my boss and they go, "Hey, Dad, I wrecked the car." Then I looked at my manager that gave me the job and I said, "Yo, John, I quit. This desk job's going to kill me." So I'm cracking jokes. They're wheeling me out of the trauma room. And I was cracking jokes to these guys. I didn't know what else to do,
Oh, that's hilarious. You were delivering. You got in a head-on car accident. You were delivering. The manager's there. You're like, "Look, pal, this job's freaking murdering me. I got to quit." That's hilarious. So, well, just, it shows like that. And that's the kind of attitude you really kind of need it. And honestly, too, I know Mrs. Bowers was obviously, this is very traumatic for her and things like that. But you kind of having that kind of courage and mentality, I bet really, like in your back of your mind, you might not have thought it, but I know your conscience, like, this will help, this will help settle my wife. I think
it helps.
I'm cracking a couple jokes so she knows I'm with it and I'm okay and that we're going to be okay. So yeah. I want to move on. Like, I want to keep talking about this, but I want to go kind of in a different direction. So the car accident happens and then you're in the hospital. What was the recovery like in the hospital?
It was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I was right before Christmas. It was like 3 weeks before Christmas.
Oh my God.
And the only reason I was able to get home before Christmas because I was able to show them that I could operate the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Get in and out of the wheelchair, do the the bathroom myself and all that crap.
Yeah.
So they discharged me a little early.
Nice.
But it was a tough recovery. It took about 6 months.
Yeah. I remember, and that's
Mrs. Bowers wasn't going to build those Christmas toys herself, so he had to get back in time.
Well, I do want to bring this up too. So you do get back and you're at the house and you're laid up, like this is tough. It's like, so for those, and I'm doing it from almost an outsider's point of view from seeing it, but I don't know the exact terms. What had happened is that they kind of clipped you at the knees and they bent your knees the other way and kind of shattered everything.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So they had to put your knees back the right way so you weren't a flamingo. And then they stitched those son of a bitches up and your legs looked like they had elephantitis. Like they were so swollen. Oh my God. So one of the things I do want to say is that you come back and obviously, me and Jay are buddying around and all the boys are hanging out and we're doing the neighborhood thing. And we come, we all swing over to go to Jay's and he's like, "Hey, my dad's home," and stuff. And we go into the addition because you were in the addition and you're sitting in your chair. You're kind of trying to stay comfortable, which is almost impossible at this point with what happened. And you're there and you have like a kind of a blanket and you're like, "Hey, boys, come over here." Right. And we're like, "Hey, what, Mr. Bowers, how are you? Good." Like all that stuff. And you're like, "Take a look at this." You move the blanket and we see your legs and we're like 10-year-old, 11-year-old kids. And we're just like, holy shit. Like, because what you must add over 30 stitches on each leg, right? Like how many?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh my God. So it's pretty much from the middle of your calf all the way up to the middle of your thigh was one big kind of cut that they had stitched together. And the legs were just kind of like they're pieced back together with
They were a mess, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of schmutz.
Staples.
Yeah, staples. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The staples, and it, like, you know, it's a gruesome wound. Even though this was a couple weeks after it had happened, it was still pretty gruesome. So I do want to bring this up, and Jay, if you're okay to speak about it, where were you when you found out about the accident?
We used to go after school to the YMCA.
Yep.
Like the YMCA would drop us off at elementary and pick us up after.
Yeah.
So like I remember distinctly being at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And my Uncle Bob walking in because he was a Abington police officer. He was a sergeant in Abington.
Is this the Marine or?
No, this is my mom's
The older brother?
sister's husband.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Mom's sister's husband.
Okay.
So I remember looking over and police officer in full uniform walking in. I'm like, Uncle Bob's here.
Yeah.
So he picked us up and we went to stay at their house. I remember we're in the car with them. And he was just like, yeah, your dad was in a car accident at work, got a little banged up. Your mom's with him now. So in my mind, I was like, oh, all right. So I get to hang out with my cousins for, he's like, you're going to stay with us because your dad got a little banged up. And I'm like, all right. So it was school night.
Yeah.
It was the middle of the week.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I get to miss school, hang out with Brian and Kevin and all that.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
You went to Orland, right? Is that?
Yeah. We stayed at night.
Yeah. I remember that.
Orland.
Yeah, they were great. They had the pool in the backyard, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're kind of like, all right, no school tomorrow, partying with my cousins. Like, this is gonna be great. You know?
He's like, I should have cut the brake lines years ago. Hey, man, this was going to be the result.
It wasn't until I don't remember how many days had passed before my mom brought us to Penn to see him.
Yeah.
But it was
they flew you down to Penn, Mr. Bowers.
Yeah. Airlifted.
Jesus Christ. All right. So Jay, sorry. Your mom took you down to Penn, you and your younger brother David. So it's you, your younger brother David, and your mom, and you're heading down to Penn. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah. So and that was really the first time. My mom had stopped and talked to us and gave us more details than just he's a little banged up.
Yeah. That's a tough as a parent now, Jay. That's got to be like, even thinking about that as your mom. I mean, hats off to her, but that's a tough combo to have.
Yeah, and it's actually funny that I forget why. It was like maybe 2 weeks ago. I actually think it was listening to the podcast. I forget why it happened, but I started thinking about the timeline.
Yeah.
And I realized that, Dad, you were, 2 years older than I am right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like basically the same age that I am right now when that happened.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of makes it.
Yeah. Sticks in your craw.
You kind of reflect back and Jesus. Because in my mind, it was always.
You were a kid.
I'm an old guy.
Old dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some old guy.
Yeah. He was
old. In our
dad.
minds, dads have been the same age since we were 10. Dad stopped aging after all right, my dad's 40, and he'll always be 40.
Yeah, I was 38.
Jesus, that's two. We're all 36. Well, Jay will be 36 in June, but that's 2 years older than all of us. Golly.
Right.
Golly. So okay. So and Jay, if you don't want to talk about this, we don't have to. But you go down, and I remember the first time seeing my dad in a hospital, and it is kind of jarring. Do you remember what it was like going down with your mom and David to Penn, and how how it affected you or anything like that?
I don't remember. I honestly remember more of that, my Uncle Bob picking me up, because it was such a change in
routine.
It was such a weird thing that happened. For my Uncle Bob to show up and pick me up. So I remember that distinctly. I remember going to the hospital, but I don't there's been different times throughout the years where it's hit me at different times with things.
Same.
But at the time, kind of like we had talked earlier, it was always no, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be bounced back.
Yeah.
Doctors are working on him. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah. As a kid, you have that reassurance. Yeah,
it didn't really hit right.
Yeah. But Mr. Bowers, for you, when you're going through that is legit, your legs were taken out from under you. Legit.
Yeah.
And you're in the hospital, and there's a lot of times your wife is there for support, but it's not like you can, like there's a lot of downtime by yourself and you're reflecting. For you, what did that do for you to have the boys coming up to see you at the hospital when you're going through this? Like that must have been.
That was great.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there and you're moping and you're feeling bad about yourself, and then all of a sudden here come the kids. It just makes you forget about all your problems.
Yeah, and it gives you like, this is what you're fighting for. Your motivation comes right back. That's beautiful.
Yep.
That's awesome. And like that's kind of the power of family. You know what I mean? Like you having that is what kind of like gave you the strength and motivation, because not only did you have to do like you had to heal, but you had recovery because you had to kind of learn to walk again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God. I mean, I know it's gruesome for all the listeners out there, but imagine a car going right into your knees, that's just what happened. So either way, one thing I did want to touch on, Jay, and, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but like I talked about earlier in the show, I talked about my dad getting sick. And when my dad got sick, it is a realization that he's a superhero, like when you're that age, your dad is your hero. He's a superhero. He's indestructible. Right. And you're able to, and then the realization of, no one's indestructible kind of comes at you at a young age. And I remember it took me a while to deal with it. And I know my older brother Asshole had the same kind of thing where I remember when my dad got sick, I used to think of like, now I know he's going to die one day. And I'm going to, I started coming to the realization that my dad's going to die one day at a very young age. Well, not very young, I was 9, but like knowing like he's going to be dead and it could be, at any time kind of thing. Did you ever have any kind of those type of feelings or kind of a realization or anything like that? Or you were more like you're saying, I was reassured the doctors are going to take care of him and he's going to be fine and he's going to do good. And I know he's going to be back and I know he's going to be strong and he's going to be okay. Do you recall like what your thoughts were at that time and things like that? And seeing your dad, like your dad was obviously in pain and it's so tough what he had to go through and like seeing the mental fortitude for him to be able to go through that and you having to witness it. Do you kind of recall anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, at the time it was like wasn't really, hit me as it did later.
Yeah.
I can remember times later on down the road thinking like we said earlier about the van.
Yeah.
And like, that's when things like, it really hits you because you're like, well, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's, if the car wasn't working.
Yeah.
And he took the van,
Yeah.
I remember the guy's name that hit him.
Jesus Christ.
Because like I've held, there's times where you think about, when you're growing up, you're like,
what would you do to that
find
son
this
of
guy?
a bitch? Yeah.
I'm going to find this guy and I'm going to take a baseball bat to his
knee.
So
you did this to my fucking dad. Now I'm going to do what you did to him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That revenge. Absolutely, man. I couldn't. Yeah. Jesus. I didn't even think of that, but that's totally.
I never thought of that either.
Yeah. But hey, that means
I did.
That just shows like, he's your son and he loves you. And that's kind of like, and I know, we're a bunch of fucking guys on here and talking about the feelings. It's fucking, we're being a bunch of fucking stews, but truly that is the job of a son. You know what I mean? And like, in my mind, I would have done the same thing where it's like, I'm going to find this guy. I'm going to fucking kill him for what he did. And he could have done to my family.
That's actually where the sign's going to end up. Jay's going to be like 40 years later and he didn't kill me, you son of a bitch. And here's the sign to prove it right in your yard.
Yeah. I got a fucking sign for you right in your car, you son of a bitch. All right, so let's move it on to lighten it up a little bit. That was some heavy stuff. Like you said, just another flavor of ice cream like we like to do on the show. But a fucking that like I said,
we're gonna lighten it up with when did your grandparents pass away?
You motherfucker, Pete. But
first time you've been cheated on.
Yeah. So yeah. So for these two it would be never. So fucking lucky bastards. So either way, so let's keep it moving. So you had done your, let's say you're getting through the hospital, you get through the rehab, and right away, you're how long after the accident were you back to work? And this is, remember, you had to learn, for all those listening, he had to learn to walk again. So how long, Mr. Bowers, from the accident were you back to work?
So the accident happened in December. I think I was back in May, early May.
What, 7 months?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That just goes to what we were saying earlier. It's like, you're not waiting around, you know? That was kind of like the thing before where it's like, you didn't want to stand behind a desk. You needed to go out and do something, you know, like you're not happy with sitting around playing video games for 8 hours a day. Like you're out, you know? So what was the first job you got when you came back? What was the first job?
I actually went back to Pace.
Okay.
Well, no, I did work at the hardware store while I was recovering.
Okay.
But after that, I went back to Pace.
So for those of you who don't know, we brought it up in Jay's episode. There's a hardware store in Lansdale called Wilson's Hardware. So because Jay's dad obviously was, you know, he was remodeling and doing all this stuff. He you know, he knew the guys at the hardware store pretty good. So he was able to get a quick gig there. If you guys remember in Jay's episode, I told the story where Jay's dad was able to put 2 bags of salt out and hold them straight out with one hand and while carrying 2 more on his shoulder after freaking repairing his knees. And so, yeah, think about that. He got his knees blown off by a car, and then he's back in May, and then a couple months later, he's hauling freaking bags of salt into the store, no problem. So freaking.
Well, considering he bent the steering wheel, I'm not surprised he was able to hold the 2 bags of salt with one hand. And
Jesus Christ, yeah. So so you're back at work and you're working at Wilson's. Did you get Jay a job at this time back at Wilson's or no?
Kind of. He got the job on his own, but you know, he knowing the boss didn't help. I'm sure did help.
Yeah. But he was able to go in and say, yeah, I'm Mr. Bowers' son. And obviously, you know, he knew you had a relationship and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And Jay, well, I mean, just shows to, you know, not even like you, but your son, right? Jay, how long were you at Wilson's?
About 10 years.
10 years, you know? So it just shows like the quality of like, you know, not even like your quality of your work, but also like your son was able to, like, you know, you're able to pass on the hard work ethic to the son, which is great.
Jay walked in, he said, I'm half the age and I have double the knees. Hire me.
You motherfucker.
That's pretty much how it went down.
He's like, look, you can get a Bowers with 1 good knee and, you know, it's twice the age, or you get a Bowers with 2 good knees, and I could be here for a while. So, okay. So nice. But either way, so Jay kind of got the job there. And then Mr. Bowers, after a couple months, like 7 months out of a life-changing car accident, you're back at work. And then how long until you went back to Pace? Because Pace would then become like your home, right?
It's about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years.
1.5 years out of the accident, closer to 2 years, then you're back at Pace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jesus. And you're like, there, I'll tell you what, I know some people that, and honestly, this speaks to like almost like your generation. So there's a buddy of mine at the gym, shout out, his name's Bruce Talbert. So Bruce Talbot, he does carpentry as well. He builds stairs, but he had like major surgery and things like that, and he had every excuse not to be at the gym. And he's coming back as soon as he can. First day he can be back there, he's there. You're the same way, where it's like you know, people by every right, you could say, yeah, I'm taking my time coming back to work and all this stuff. But it's not in you to sit around and do nothing and be lazy and whatever. It's in you to get back to work, to provide for the family, to do your job, to find a purpose and all that stuff. And that's to be commendable, because there's a ton of people out there that would take this as like, oh, I'm never going to have to work again, and I'm just going to sit around and do nothing, and I could be whatever, you know, but not you. You're ready to get back to work. And when you're back at work, you're not asking for help. You're not asking for handouts. You're saying, leave me alone. I need to do this on my own, because eventually I'm going to be able to do this on my own. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So like you're still like, when you're at Pace, it's kind of the same thing. You're hauling shit all over the place, right?
Yeah. Like people would come in and, you know, let's say a homeowner would come in, only need 1 or 2 bundles of shingles.
Yeah.
Instead of tying up the warehouse guy, I would go, I was a counter guy. I sold the stuff. I'd go out and I'd load it up into their car for them, 1 or 2 bundles.
Yeah.
And the warehouse guy, yeah, what the hell are you doing? What are you nuts?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing that. I'm doing it because I want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to continue with my life,
Yeah.
I don't need to sit down and whine and do this for me, do that for me, because
Exactly.
it would suck,
Exactly. And that's not, and that's no way to live either.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you're out there,
I don't
doing
want
it.
to depend on people, I want to be able to do it myself.
Exactly. And that's just kind of like, that's just, honestly, I feel like, I'd like to think that and until you're in that situation, you don't know how you'll react. But I think that you've instilled that in Jay. And I think that Pete, your dad, did the same. And I think my dad did the same as well. Where it's like, look, I'm fighting back and I'm getting back to my old life, and I don't care how much pain I got to go through to do it. I'm going to be able to conquer this,
Mm-hmm.
So you would then spend the next 12 years at Pace doing your thing. And then you left Pace to go back to remodeling, right?
With Lansdale Home Improvements, yeah.
With Lansdale Home Improvements. And then a year ago, you're able to pack it up, pack it in, retire. And live the beautiful retirement life of a year in COVID. So,
yep.
So
it's everything I dreamed of.
Yeah. When you're thinking retirement, you're thinking not being allowed outside without a mask for a year. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, buddy. So, okay. So let's keep this going. I want to talk about some of the cool things. So one of these things, and Pete, I don't know if you ever got to see this, but when we were a kid, I thought this was the coolest thing. So like I said, Mr. Bowers built an addition by himself of his house. In the addition, it was like plank and beam ceiling and all this awesome stuff. But he had these beams traversing the inside. He had these beams traversing the inside of the addition that, that it almost made like a T shape, like a cross. And on top of these beams, he put his train collection. Now, Pete, I know if you look behind Mr. Bowers, I don't know if we can see it really.
I can see it. Yep.
So behind him, there's a case that I believe he built himself. And in that case is a train set. And that's just a piece of the train set that he has.
Just a small piece.
Small piece. And these things, Pete, I'm telling you, when he was telling me the prices of some of these things that you could get, this is no joke. And these things are freaking awesome. And I've seen them in action.
Oh, yeah. He would get along with my father-in-law. My father-in-law, he worked for Jersey Transit forever. And he's like that's his big thing. He builds like the model trains. And his big thing is he likes to build the train station. So he has Scranton and he has Newark and he has like all of his little things set up. He's down in North Carolina now where he's found some other people that are into his train things. But well, it's impressive.
Speaking of that, Mr. Bowers, you used to be were you the chairman or something of the local chapter? What you told me?
Well, I was a member of the TCA,
okay.
And the local division was called the Atlantic Division.
Yeah.
And I was co-chairman of the traveling train layout that we used to take to children's hospitals and retirement homes too.
Yeah. Get this, Pete. So Mr. Bowers here, he built his track, but then what he did is he built this contraption where he could fold. It was like, I think it was like 8 or 9 layers of track that he could fold on top of itself, right? That he could then put into his van and he could take it to different children's hospitals and retirement homes and things like that. And he could see like these kids, and these were sick kids, he could take the train set there, he could put it all together, and then these kids could just, have a timeout from being sick kids in a damn hospital and doing, kids and trains. It's like crack for kids. So, not only was he able to he has this collection, but he was able to do like good things with it. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't build the layout. It was built by the division, a bunch of us. It was like a handful of guys. One of the guys was my old gym teacher, Al Broadhag.
Oh man.
And I, went through school. He was my gym teacher, and then when I became a train collector and got in the organization, he was one of the people that was in it.
Oh, nice.
And it was like reconnecting with him.
Yeah.
And his son, who I went to school with, he was a valedictorian of our class.
Oh, Jesus.
I got to reconnect with him, and it was nice, It's
but that's also that's kind of a cool niche too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like people think, like me and Pete, we did like the fighting and jiu-jitsu and things like that. I bet there's more train collectors than there are guys doing jujitsu. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, like you guys, it's a cool little niche, and like people, I feel like this is one of those things that kind of gets a bad rap because you say train sets and all that stuff, and people think whatever, but that's not the case. I've seen these things; these are elite machines, and these things are fantastic.
Yeah. The other dude, it's something that takes like actual discipline. You know what I mean? Like most of our, what are our hobbies? Like, oh, I watch 90 Day Fiance or I watch the Eagles game. It's not something that actually takes like time and skill and discipline. Like,
yeah, and it takes a lot of craftsmanship and creativity and everything like that. And it's also like research and stuff like that. Mr. Bowers, you were telling me like there's, there's different types of trains, obviously. But like when you're researching, like how much would some of these trains could they be worth?
It's so crazy, the variance. It's you can have a really old train from the 20s. You could pay $150 for. You can go out and buy a brand new train today. It's got all the electronic gizmos and pay $1,300, $1,400. Right. And there's older trains that are worth more than that. There's newer trains that are worth less. There's so big a variety.
Yeah. But that's still like, and and it's almost kind of like a fun thing. Like you're able to research it. You're able to find it. You talk to other guys in the community and you can trade. And like, honestly, I've seen these things. These things are works of art. The way they're detailed, the way they run, even like the layout that you have them on. And also another thing, when Jay brings the boys over, they're ape shit for these things. Are you kidding me? They're going nuts. But also, I do want to bring up, and I don't want to skate over this. You did say, like, you would pack up the trains and you would bring them to children's hospitals. Honestly, man, that's like that. You're doing the Lord's work there because these kids, it's every day in these hospitals. And you're doing this. This is back in the early 2000s before you could give these kids a tablet and have them waste their lives there. Like, they're just standing around doing nothing. And I guarantee that when the train man came, that's what they're saying. When the train man came, they lose their shit and it's the best day and it helps them take their pains away and you're bringing a smile to a kid who could be terminally ill with some disease. And that's
why you have a good story about that.
Oh, let's hear it.
We're down at the children's hospital and there's buttons and stuff on the layout that kids can push. Gates will go down, lights will flash, stuff like that. So they can be interactive with it. And this nurse wheeled this child up to the table and he sat there and he watched for a while. And then he reached out and he tried to hit one of the buttons to make something activate on the layout.
Yeah.
The nurse starts crying. I'm like, what happened? Is he okay? Did he hurt himself? What's the matter? She goes, that's the first voluntary movement he's made in 3 weeks. Just reaching for that button.
Yeah.
So you think, I'm taking the trains down, I'm setting them up, the kids are playing, having a good time. There's stories like that going on that you don't even realize.
Yeah.
That's the first voluntary movement he's made in 3 weeks.
Jesus Christ.
She starts crying. Because a bunch of guys, some old guys brought some trains for kids to play with.
Yeah. But still, I mean, that's just like.
And you gave them the one thing the kids always want. They always want to push the button. And you brought the most beautiful button. Or that's the one.
You brought 20 of the best buttons money could buy.
And then you would take it to an old folks home. And they'd, when I was a kid, we had these trains. Let me tell you. And then they start reminiscing. And
it's the same thing. You're just bringing, like, you're legit when you're packed, like, and I saw you do it. It wasn't like it was the easiest thing in the world to pack these things up and ship them off. And you're driving all these hours away and things like that. But when you have stories of like that, legit, you're bringing happiness to people in these train sets that you're able to put together. And that's a great, great thing, man. Like, I guarantee, like, hopefully God willing, some of those kids survived,
Oh, I'm sure they have.
And I know that those kids all would remember the train guy.
I did it like 10 years and there's like 3 or 4 kids that really stick into my head that I think about. And that's one of them.
That's fantastic.
That's what life's all about. Human interaction, just having those experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a beautiful thing. So
Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. Because that's the kind of things that makes the world a better place. And that's the stuff you were doing. And that's, I think the world needs more things like that. All right, fans, time for a break in the action. We're going to bring you a new segment to the show. This is Shit That Happened in Wrestling with our good friend Steve Cabot. Steve, what shit happened in wrestling?
We had some sad shit happen this weekend. A Winslow Township, New Jersey native, a Philadelphia area brethren, and one of the greatest wrestlers to ever step foot on a mat in this world, Jordan Burroughs, 2-time national champion, 4-time world champion, Olympic gold medalist. He decided for the first time in 10 years, he didn't want to be on the team no more. And by that, I meant couldn't beat Kyle Dake, who he's beaten 3 times before. Don't get it twisted. Dake is a monster. 4-time national champ. One of 4 guys to ever do it. Absolute stud. Still, always sad to see a great legend go down. And that's the shit that happened at a wrestling.
All right, now with shit that happened in wrestling with our good friend Steve Cabot. Now, back to the show. So, you know, enough kissing your ass. We're going to move on a little bit. I want to talk. So, I've seen this firsthand, and I'm telling you, you're a craftsman, not an artist, but this thing is a freaking work of art. So I went to Jay's house. Jay's wife makes sauce and meatballs that are out of this freaking world. This is old school Maron. These are the freaking Italians, you know, doing their thing. Jay's wife does it.
She made it this weekend.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I'm salivating just thinking about it. But it was like, I'm telling you, this is some of the best I've ever. It was pretty freaking good, you know? So either way, we go over to Jay's house and I walk in, and as soon as I walk into the right, I see a grandfather clock, right? And this thing, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this thing is unreal. Like, where the hell did you get this? And he's like, oh, my dad made it. Are you freaking kidding me? Right? Like, Jay, what is it? Maybe 5 feet tall, a little taller than that, right? 6?
And he was able to hang it by himself? Like he didn't have to bring it.
It stands on the floor.
You hang it by, oh yeah, because you just took the picture down and you hang it up. You motherfucker.
How big was the picture?
Oh my God, you son of a bitch. So okay, this grandfather clock, Jay, how tall is this thing?
It's probably about 7 feet.
Jesus Christ. How long, Mr. Bowers, how long did it take you to put it together?
It took me a summer, but I did one before that. The one I have, it took me about 1.5 years.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. And
Yes.
like,
Matt, do you remember what it's made out of?
Is it
Yours?
Is it oak? Am I right? No. What's
No,
it?
mine's oak. His is spalted maple.
Spalted maple.
From
my backyard.
Our backyard and our neighbor's backyard.
Oh no shit! So what did happen? So
Had the trees cut down and milled into planks.
Oh!
And then I dried them out. And then I used those to build the clocks.
Is this in the fucking 1800s or something? Holy shit! You fucking
Dude, my idea of making pancakes from scratch is getting the stuff you had to add water to. This guy's like, oh no, I just milled my trees to make a clock.
Dude, this is the next level man shit that we're talking about. A fucking the tree fell down.
Man, it's me.
Yeah. Dude, it's the next, like, you're on your own level of freaking man shit right now. This is next fucking level. A tree falls down, you knock the tree down in your yard, take it down. And instead of just getting rid of the wood, you're like, oh, I'll be able to make a grandfather clock for my son and his family. Are you fucking kidding me?
If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear, did Mr. Bowers make a clock out of it? That's the question. And the philosophy class is going on right now.
Yeah, well, it's a fucking yes, you know. And this, I'm telling you, man, this thing is a beauty. I've seen it. The craftsmanship is unbelievable. I mean, if you were to sell this, I wouldn't sell it for a freaking $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, also, that's now what you've created is a family heirloom. You know what I mean? Like, that's something you can pass along. Like, you know, Jan or Jay's kids will be able to have that, and their kids and their kids, and they can say, my grandfather built this clock. That's something like that's cool feeling. That's a great thing, and you know, like you've earned it, you know, and that's something you should cherish, and that's phenomenal, man. That's like, thanks. I only wish I could do that kind of shit, you know. Like, I mean, you know, I don't know. My dad, when he passed, I got a pair of brass knuckles, And that's the thing you passed on to me that he got when he was in Korea.
I got brass knuckles from my grandfather.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I fucking love him. I'm not gonna lie. You want to feel the power in your hands, brother. Let me tell you. Oh,
Plus, you can open a beer with him.
Oh my God. Hey, maybe I'll try that. I've never tried that. But yeah, that's dude, I'm telling you. But that is something that's unreal. That is so cool. So
thanks.
Other than building priceless grandfather clocks and works of art, you've also taught yourself how to stain glass. Is that right? Oh, wait, hold on. Let's backtrack. How the hell did you learn how to build a grandfather clock?
Got a set of plans. Just started building it. I don't know.
You're just like, all right.
I didn't learn anything, It's, years of home remodeling.
Just you knew you had the tools and you have the skills.
I had tools. I had the talent.
Damn.
He looked at his space on his wall and he said, "There should be a clock there, and I will be the one that will build it."
It's like the guy in Ghostbusters said, we have the tools, we have the talent."
Damn right. You have that in abundance, for Christ's sake. So you taught yourself how to build a grandfather clock, then you teach yourself how to stain glass. So why did this come about, the staining glass?
Well, my brother-in-law had got me interested in it, and he had given me a panel that needed to be repaired.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to fix it, built a frame for it, hung it in my window, kind of got the bug.
Yeah.
And I've seen these Tiffany stained glass lampshades.
Yeah.
Some were really awesome.
Yeah.
So I just started, I got a kit. I bought a mold and a kit, and I just started. I could teach you how to do it in 10 minutes.
Oh, is that
really good?
Yeah. Well,
it's just the talent that it takes.
Like the artistic.
It's monotonous.
Yeah.
It's
But that's the kind of shit you like, though, right? Like you like that kind of like you're
tedious.
But you're creating something though. Like you kind of like
in a way.
I feel like you kind of find solace in that. Like you kind of like
a little bit.
It's almost like a therapeutic thing for you in a way. Right.
Yeah, when you're done and you look at what you've created, it's
quite an accomplishment, I would have to say.
Time well spent.
Yeah. And like, and there are people that like, were you even retired at the time when you were building these things? Like you hadn't been retired yet. Right?
No, I was still when I started about, I guess, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. So
this was just a way to distract you from Jay being an asshole as a child, huh?
He was a pretty good kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only ever had like 2 incidents with him.
Yeah. I don't think, Jay, you really never got in trouble, right? Yeah.
Nah.
No.
That was a big wet blanket through most of.
I had to jack him up one time, him and Alan.
Yeah. I know. I got in trouble enough for all of us, so that's the fucking truth. But
Jack Jay up, told Alan he had to get home, and
that was it.
That was it.
What happened? Can we talk about it?
Yeah. I can talk about it if you want.
We don't have.
I was home. Him and Alan were there.
Yeah.
And I hear these like little chirpies, chirp, chirp, chirp.
Yeah.
Making these weird noises. And I realized what they were. They were poking at me. So I grabbed Jason, jacked him up. I said, "Don't you ever disrespect me like that again." Then I threw him to the ground. I looked at Alan. I said, "Alan, time for you to go home." Oh. Alan ran running out the door.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Hey,
that was like the biggest discipline problem I ever had.
I don't remember this.
You don't remember that?
No.
Learned right away.
Maybe it's
you don't remember your dad taking
Alan's
boots and throwing them into the mud right beforehand? Get out of here, Alan.
No, I do remember.
You're running home bare feet.
I do remember, like, if there was ever any kind of corrective action needed, he should just take his fingers and just hit you right in your sternum. Just poke you, like knock it off.
Yeah.
That was fun.
My old man, he was a big fan of the vice grip on the back of the neck. He would lock on and be like, "Do we need to have a talk?" And I'm like, "You're okay."
I was a dumb kid. My parents would be like, you keep crying, I'll give you something to cry about. And I would stop crying because I thought they were going to give me something. Like, am I getting candy or a toy? Like, what is going to stop me from crying? Had no understanding of the underlying threat that was coming at me. I'm like, all right, sweet.
All right. Oh, if I stop crying, what's coming? Hey, you got a fucking
Doritos? All right, sweet.
I will say, Pete, I don't want to blow you up, but okay. So one time I was with this chick who's not my wife, and I was with this chick, and we had gone out on a date, and Pete was there with a chick who was also not his wife as well. And we're out to dinner at a nice Mexican place, the Adobe Cafe in Mania. Beautiful place, right? That was like our spot. We would go there all the time, hang out. And we're there, and everyone's sitting down at the table, and Pete says, "You guys got to try these plain Doritos. They're great." I was like, "You mean the Tostitos chips? You know, like the tortilla chips?" And he was like, "Yeah, I've never had plain Doritos. These are awesome." And I was like, "All right." I don't mean to blow you up, Pete. I just thought that was funny. But Doritos.
I like that story too.
Yeah. So okay. So you're teaching yourself to build grandfather clocks, and this is just like you like. Honestly, I feel like you have so much fulfillment that we've talked about in your life, and all these great things. And it comes because like you loved what you were doing. You loved like being able to build things and fix things, right, Mr. Bowers? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
But like you like working, like, woodworking and craftsmanship and carpentry and all that stuff. Like you like it so much that it was your job, but then also you would do it in your spare time for fun, like
pretty much. Yeah.
See, that's like something incredible. That's really, really like, I mean, to find that kind of passion, I think is fascinating. And the fact that you're being able to build things for your family and things like that, like, you built a lampshade for like the stained glass lampshade, right? And like it's in your home right now. And I'm sure
I got a bunch of them.
Oh my God.
Made at least 10 or 11 of them.
And does Mrs. Bowers like them or what? She loves them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all over the house.
See, that's incredible. Like if I built something, it would be like, like a house of toothpicks, and my wife would be like, "Sure, we can hang that on the fridge." Oh my God. Like, but your wife is like, "My husband built this as well as the house that we're standing in," like, like she could, well, obviously not now because they're at a different house, but the old house, she could do that. But either way, so I want to keep moving. I do want to talk about this. So as well as like, your retirement, you're hanging out, you're still, like you're hanging out and stuff. When did you guys go? You took a trip, and this to me, when we talked about it, was awesome. You and Mrs. Bowers took a trip to Alaska.
Yeah.
So how long ago was this trip?
That was 2018.
2018. Golly.
Yeah.
So pre-COVID, and what did you think?
Yeah.
How was it?
Oh, it was great. The best time of my life.
Oh God.
It was a land tour and a cruise.
Oh.
So we flew into Anchorage.
Uh-huh.
Got on a train.
Okay.
Went into the outback. We did a little bus tour here and there.
Yeah.
Then we got on a cruise ship
Uh-huh.
for like 8 days. Was on going in and out of the fjords, Alaska, and seeing dolphins and whales.
Oh.
It was just awesome.
How picturesque is like the country up there, right? Like
it's just beautiful. You can't.
Is it really breathtaking? Like when you're.
It is. It really is.
God.
It is.
I can only imagine. Like, were there any icebergs or anything like that you saw? Like, were you up?
Yeah, we saw a lot of like not big, huge icebergs, but a lot of ice chunks in the fjords as you're going in.
God, that's incredible.
Saw Denali from a distance. It was pretty cool.
What's a Denali?
Denali's a national park.
Yeah, it used to be called Mount McKinley. Now they went back to now it's called Denali.
Why
the original name?
Why did they change it? Did they tell us?
It was originally called Denali by the indigenous people.
Oh, I see.
And then McKinley became president. And we bought Alaska. They named it after him, and then they went back to the original indigenous.
What they call it? Is it Seward's Folly, right? Because they thought it was
Seward's
a big
Folly,
mistake to buy it. Yeah.
Seward's Icebox.
Seward's Icebox. Yeah.
They thought that. So I do remember this. They thought
it was a barren land, so they didn't realize there was any value. So they thought it was just a big mistake to buy. And Seward was the Secretary of State that I guess said put it through.
It was called Seward's Folly. You're right.
No shit. But now, like everyone knows, like that. Thank God we have it, right? You know. Jesus.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. It's absolutely beautiful.
I can only imagine. I can't honestly. That's definitely on the bucket list of places to build, and that's one of those things. And when we talked earlier, you confirmed the air you're breathing up there. It's like just cleaner and fresher, and it's just oh man, that's awesome. That's really like an eye-opening kind of place, and it just seems like it would be so much fun and a great place to visit. That's awesome. So okay, so let's keep this moving, and I'll do one last thing, and I'll cut you. I'll let you leave. So I sent a list of questions. Did I send you the questions? Okay. So I just want to ask you a couple questions. We're gonna go over them, and then you can kick me the hell out. So question number 1: what was your favorite movie at the age of 10?
Oh, that's a tough one. Age of 10.
Did they have picture shows back then?
Yeah. Did they have talkies?
Yeah. Probably
William Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew.
I don't know. There were so many. Does it have to be from the age of 10 or before that?
It can be before that. It can be, just
Oh,
when
I
you were
don't
a
know.
kid.
Yeah, your favorite movie at the age of 10. So it could have been something you saw earlier, and
Yeah.
All right. If maybe Bonnie and Clyde was out at that time, might have been that at the time.
That's pretty good.
But I still like old movies. It's
Same.
made before 1950. I'm watching it.
Oh, dude,
you're an
on the
arsenic and old
waterfront.
lace fan.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Casablanca, On the Waterfront,
Yep.
Gone with the Wind, dude, like The Quiet Man, anything with John Wayne, I'm with
Yep.
it. They're just the best.
Yep.
Dude. They're the best. The Quiet Man.
My personal favorite is Arsenic and Old Lace for the old movies. Where
Cary Grant.
Yeah, Cary Grant. Yeah.
Cary Grant. Yep. There's a series with William Powell called The Thin Man,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a detective, and there's just like 5 of them with him and Myrna Loy. They're really good. So I love old movies like that.
Same.
Yeah.
You know what movie I caught the other day? Freaking love it. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh
Fucking
yeah,
love that movie.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
And John Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
That was. Did you know? Apparently, what was Jimmy Stewart's big Christmas movie? Obviously,
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
apparently that was a bomb at first. Like it was something that it was a huge bomb, and it became big because it was so cheap that they could put it on the TV for free. They charged no royalties because no one wanted it. So then they started playing it like every day, like we watch A Christmas Story, and then it became a thing. Like it's like exposure made it what it is today.
No kidding. I think it's Jimmy Stewart. So I think it's Spencer Tracy, Jimmy Stewart, and Tom Hanks are the only actors ever win back-to-back Best Actors, I believe. I don't know. I might be wrong. But yeah, Jimmy Stewart, man. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, any of those, I'm with you. Those old movies.
All the old actors.
They're so freaking good. Anything with Brando, too. I fucking love Brando.
Mhm.
Oh, like On the Waterfront, Streetcar Named Desire,
Yep.
all of them.
Superman.
Oh, Superman, of course. What's the one? The Vietnam one. Oh, I forget. Okay.
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. Yep.
Yep.
So, okay. So let's keep it moving then. So what is your favorite movie or TV show now?
I don't have one.
Yeah.
Really, I just watch like History Channel.
Oh, what are you watching on History Channel?
I'll tell you what, my favorite show right now is Ridiculousness.
With
Yeah,
Bob Quinn?
Yes, I love it.
I got so sick of watching TV that I just started watching that. It's great.
Really? With
It's
Rob
so good.
Dyrdek? Is it
Yeah,
good?
Rob Dyrdek. Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
They're just
I'm with
clips.
Mr. Bowers.
They're just stupid clips.
Isn't it been around for a while too?
It's
Yeah,
been around for 10 years.
2011.
Jesus.
It runs constantly all day long.
And it's just, is it that funny?
It is. They're just stupid clips of people doing stupid shit.
And people making fun of them?
Yep. And it's a great show.
It's like Tosh.0, but for MTV.
All right.
Yeah.
I might have to check that out then. Nice.
It's Tosh.0 for people with ADD. You're like, I don't want to hear the bit. Just show me the goddamn clips. I'm the same way. I have no time for your bits.
But right now that's what I go watch a lot now.
Nice. All right. So then, okay. Next question. If you could give yourself a nickname, what would it be?
The Supreme Omnipotent.
Oh shit! All right.
No, I'm just kidding you.
What the heck?
No, I used to have a nickname in high school. It was Cars.
Cars.
All right.
Short for Carl.
Nice.
Cars.
I like that. All
That's
right.
what they called me in high school.
Cool. And
I don't know why, but
I mean, for me,
to
you
your
worked at the
face.
gas station, and
what?
To your face,
Yeah.
that's what they called you.
Yeah, they said Car. They called me Cars.
Behind your back, yeah.
Dan Mangle started, I think.
Oh.
Dan Mangle.
Nice. That's not a bad one. Okay, so all right, so that's a good one. Cars for the nickname. Then, if you could host a TV show, what TV show would you host? It could be real or made up.
I don't know. That's a good one.
I could see you hosting.
Ridiculousness?
There you go.
All right, I like it. All right. That's great.
That'd be good.
That is great. I would love to see you host Ridiculousness. You would be like, look at this freaking moron fucking falling out of a tree. Look at this
Just
guy.
like these people here.
You could be like, look at this dumbass trying to use a split joint on a piece of cedar. What is this? What a noob. You know? Okay. So what TV game show would you want to be on?
I think Jeopardy.
Yeah. Classic. Yeah. Are you good with that? The random facts?
Well, if you don't count my wrong answers, I am.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you'd probably be top of the charts.
Yeah.
All right. So then I wonder if, so this is okay. So Jay, we've talked about this. This is a good opportunity to clear something up. So what's the biggest word you know the meaning of, Mr. Bowers? And then Jay, we'll talk about what we talked about before.
Biggest word I know the meaning of.
Yep.
Constantinople.
Oh, it's
a city.
Yeah. It's Budapest now, right?
Istanbul.
No, not Budapest.
Istanbul.
No, it's Istanbul.
Istanbul now, but formerly
Constantinople.
All right.
As
nice.
the Whack-A-Maniacs will remind you, or the Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Istanbul is Constantinople, and Istanbul is Constantinople. We can play that song later on.
We sure can. Okay, so something we wanted to clear up. Apparently, we have a discrepancy with a former episode. It was the Taxman episode 1 of the Pete McCormick 2 episodes. Jay, can you please rekindle us with some knowledge? I'll say this: the person we interviewed in the Pete McCormick episode 1, that person said the biggest word they knew the meaning of was anti-disestablishmentarianism. Then they said that just means something as the definition, which it does. Jay, can you please regale us?
Oh, yeah.
It has to do with the Church of England, going back hundreds of years. When the Church of England was established, there was people that wanted to disestablish it as the official Church of England.
Oh.
The people that were against that were anti-disestablishment. So anti-disestablishmentarianism was basically they wanted to keep the Church of England.
Well, now my dad's going to tune in because I only know that word because my dad used to say it all the time, and I actually didn't know what it meant. So
it's
I've heard the word, and I didn't know what it meant either.
Yeah, my dad would always say it all the time, and I'm like, I have no idea what this means. But he went to St. Joe's. He was a Jesuit college guy, so that's why he knows what this is.
The funny story of why I know that is I had a 7th grader years ago who was one of the smartest kids I ever taught. And we were talking about something in class, and this one student goes, "What was the name of that one thing we talked about last year?" And it was like kind of a long word. And the kid looks at him and goes, "Anti-disestablishmentarianism?" And the kid goes, "Yeah, that's it." I was like, I had to look it up. Like I didn't recall anti-disestablishmentarianism, but this 7th grader just pulls it out of nowhere and he goes, "Oh, you mean anti-disestablishmentarianism?"
Yep, and that kid right now is designing Amazon's next
Probably.
Amazon. Yeah. So all right. So Pete, next time we have you on as a guest when you're not a host, if that will ever happen again, probably not. You'll have to come up with a new biggest word you know the meaning of, because that's now Jay's word. So there you go.
It'll be called a Jerky McJerkface or Stanistan.
Oh.
You explain the thing that I knew when I didn't know.
Oh, so is that it? So I just did a jerky McJerkface McStanistan?
You know what? If the jerk face fits.
Oh wow! Oh wow! If the jerky McJerk's face fits, huh? Real nice, bub. Okay. So all right. So I think I might know the answer to this next question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So Mr. Bowers, the next question: what was the worst day of work in your whole life?
It was December 11th, 1996.
Is that that's the car
day of the accident?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it was a pretty rough day. You were late on that delivery. Sure, you never lived that.
No, I made the delivery. I was late getting back. Delivery went fine.
Oh my god.
The guys got their J channel.
Oh my god.
There wasn't a day in 1993 when a certain family moved on to 6th Street.
I mean, that was the worst day in everybody's life. So, all right. So let's keep it moving. What was the best day of work in your whole life? And this is the last thing, and then I'll,
When I was a kid, I was working as a stock boy part-time when I was still doing home remodeling. I was working stock boy at King's part-time. And it was Christmas Eve. And I was stock boy. We were going to have to work doing layaways all night long.
Yeah.
Because, people are getting their Christmas gifts before Christmas.
Yeah.
And the boss came up to me and he goes, "Hey, Carl, it's Christmas Eve, and I'd let you know this is going to be your last night at work because after Christmas, we're not going to need you. And the other people are, going to need their jobs and blah, blah, blah." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, then I guess you really won't mind if I leave right now, would you?" And he went, "Well, no, we could use it for the rest of the night." And I said, "Well, you know what? If you're going to lay me off, see ya." So I stuck him on Christmas Eve when he needed a stock boy to do all the running. Because he was going to lay me. He should have told me at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's his fucking fault.
So he told me, I walked in, I punched the card.
Yeah.
I had like 4 minutes on my card that night.
Yeah.
I punched it, and he goes, "Oh, Carl, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to have to lay you off tonight." Click.
Oh, good.
See ya.
Yeah, screw that bastard.
That was the most satisfying.
Oh, that must have been the best.
It's great.
That must have been the best feeling. That's kind of like the
see ya.
Yeah, it's kind of like fuck you,
Yeah, that's
fuck you. I'm out of here. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I didn't need the job, I was part time. I was just doing it for extra money.
And he was he was an idiot. Why the hell
he was an idiot? He was an idiot the whole time I worked there. So
yeah, so
the only reason, if he was a nice guy and I didn't, really care, I would have stayed that night.
Yeah,
but he was a dick, so screw him.
Fuck him, man. That's what he gets, and he's a fucking stupid dick then too for telling you early. What an idiot. So all right, so Mr. Bowers, I'm telling you, I cannot thank you enough for this. What a show, man. Really got some great stuff. Jay, thanks for coming on, sharing everything. I know we got a little hairy there and stuff, and you too, Mr. Bowers. Pete, great fucking job tonight, man. This was just one hell of a show. Really, really loved it. And I can't wait to air this. This is going to be good. And
anytime you go over 40 minutes, it's good pod.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And this was a great show. And these are the things you can expect at the Working Perspectives podcast when it's run by me. If that son of a bitch bastard, Tom Lavelle, that bought the fucking show from underneath me, thinks he can run the show the same way, then he's out of his fucking mind. This is our show. All right? It's not his show.
Well, you know what? Luckily, Matt, you're out. You've gotten rid of all of your Benedict Arnolds, and now you only got Alexander Hamilton's left. That's all you got left on your team.
Right. That's goddamn right. And we're going to take Hamilton all the way to the Tonys and win them all again. Because that's what we're fucking doing. Straight. This is the most award-winning podcast money can buy, and it's going to be great. And dude, honestly, Mr. Bowers, can't thank you enough. Jay, this is great.
Thanks, man.
Honestly, I hope.
Thanks, guys.
Spread the word. Tell your wife, and I'd love to have Mrs. Bowers on and Dave as well. I would, get the whole family in here, and then eventually you guys will end up listening and hating each other for all the shit you talk to each other, and that's just what so once again, this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives podcast. Party in your pants, Pete. You got anything you want to say to the peeps before we get out of here?
I'm ready to get some dinner.
Yeah, party on, party people. All right. Mr. Bowers, any messages you want to send to the dozens and dozens of listeners?
No.
That's the best message.
Just truthfully, yeah. No.
I fucking love it. Jay Bird, anything you want to say to all the peeps out there?
I'm all right.
All right, good deal. So, this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives podcast. Big thanks to Party in Your Pants, Pete McCormick, Mr. Bowers, and Jay Bowers for coming in today. You can find all episodes of the Working Perspectives podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can find us on Spotify at The Working Perspectives Podcast. You can join us on Instagram for all the fun at Working Perspectives Podcast. And you can join us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. Anyone likes to be a guest on the show and go through the approval process with the PAAA, not like some dumb bastard named Tom Lavelle who didn't get approved to be on the show and pirated on the damn show. If you want to be going through the approval process with Cheryl at the PAAA, you contact us at workingperspectives@gmail.com and you get it done right. This has been another episode of the Working Perspectives Podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle. Thanks for listening. Stick around for the ad read. See ya. Do you have a message or a story inside of you that you've been waiting to tell? Have you always dreamed of writing a book, but are intimidated by the complexities of the book publishing world? Perhaps you want to use a book to launch your public speaking or consulting career. If so, please reach out to Scott and Bell Publishing, located right here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Scott and Bell Publishing handle all genres and authors with all experience levels. Scott and Bell Publishing gives authors 100% creative freedom and a higher royalty split. They can be found at www.skotbell.com. That's www.s as in Sam, K as in Kite, O as in October, T as in Tom, B as in Boy, E as in Edward, L as in Larry, L as in Larry.com. That's Scott and Bell Publishing, where the authors go.